Sorry. Now it started.
Oh, come in now, I can come in and do. Oh, I can hear my phone.
There we go.
Should we be in
Might not.
Zoom too?
Yeah.
So the owl may be muted.
Ms. Persley, can you hear me? Kristen, can you hear me? If you, can you, you have to mute.
All right, everybody mute and let's see.
Ms. Persley, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're gonna go around and introduce ourselves, starting with you, Dr. Okay, go ahead. Good morning. Thank you. Went back. We need to keep our big boy voices, our big girl voices, we have to be very, very loud. Big boy and big girl voices, and then we right along. That, have any public comment? Going to agenda item number 8, about committee. The purpose of the committee is to look at each department union and find savings and budget outcomes, we have collaborative budget that reflects business priorities, business responsibility, and accountability. This is a thing. Our call. Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
I can't hear very well. Is anyone else having trouble?
Anybody in Zoomville, any of the 5 attendees, if you can If you can text me if you're unable to hear. They're having to deal with phone fees, okay. All right, just a second, everyone. We're gonna just try to plug the owl up close. Oh, we can't hear. Oh, somebody text. Okay, thank you, Fran. We cannot hear over Zoom.
Can you? Do you want to? I think we can power that.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
But these
Yeah.
will take our house.
Yeah.
Okay, that's should have.
Miss Persley and everybody watching, we're just taking a minute to connect the owl so that we can hear better. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, now what do I do? Is it on?
Well, and I think
Can you mute that for me, Mr. Johnson?
Oh, it's better now. Okay. So what do I have to do?
well, but I was thinking I was speaking.
That's my big one. And that's, oh, look at the little thing. That's the mute, but that's unmute. Fancy. Okay. Can you hear us now, Ms. Persley? Is it better?
Much better.
Okay, let me try it now. Can you hear us now, Ms. Persley? Is it better?
Yes, yes, I can. Can you hear
I
me?
can't hear you, Fran.
No, she's not muted. Maybe you have to unmute your volume.
Let's see, so I'm unmuted there. I can hear you. Can you hear me? We cannot hear you, Ms. Persley, and I don't know why.
Hmm,
Interesting.
yeah, I'm talking. You can't hear me?
No, we still can't hear you. What do you, my district computer?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Okay. This is the. Oh, let's see. I don't know how to mute it. It's a hot mess.
Okay, try now.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I muted it. Did I mute it? Oh,
No. Okay, now.
can you know what?
Oh, wait, there's something.
All right. Is it because I'm saying so much? I mean, when it rains, it pours. I lost my. Morning.
Did you really?
I did. Do you want to?
Hello?
Okay. Oh, okay, everyone, we're gonna bring down the computer over here. We're gonna try again. Thank you for your patience. I muted myself.
Ms. Pursley, can you hear me?
Yes, you sound fine.
Yay. Okay, great. Okay. You get to sit next to me, sir. Let me get my orange juice. Let me move away because you know you like to cough.
The only thing is, we won't have,
Oh, so the people need the
That's okay.
projection too.
I think everybody should then log on to Zoom.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we screen share?
Yeah.
Dr. Hurst, you can
share
your screen? Okay.
No.
All right. All right, everyone, let's give this another try, okay? So we did roll call. Everyone is here. Every union is represented. We have the SPED team here. We have Director Johnson and we have Principal Moses. You have a different title now? We have coordinator of CSACE, Ms. Moses here. There was no public comment on Zoom or in-house. Again, Zoom, if you have a hard time hearing us, just text one of us that are in the room and we will try to make that adjustment. We will make that adjustment. People in the room, we're going to use our big voices so the community can hear us clearly. President Gonzalez Hoy, if you could now give us vision and updates.
Thank you, Chair Smith Folds. And I apologize, I can't raise my voice because I'm getting through
That's okay,
pneumonia.
pneumonia.
So if I start talking loud, I start coughing like crazy, which will not help us. So I do have a quick update that I wanted to share with everybody, and Dr. Hurst, please add, because I'm sure I'll miss something. So Dr. Hurst, Dr. McIntyre, CBO, and I met yesterday with the county office. We met with their CBO, superintendent, and incoming CBO. And we share with them the difficulties of their directive to us to find $10 million to cut by the end of this month. As we have just experienced, I think we have cut like 400,000. So we're far, far from our mark. So the purpose of the meeting was to ask them for time. And it was not obviously to switch our goal for next year. We've been pretty clear that we have to cut $19.5 million by the end of next year. But we explained to them the process that we're currently going through to build transparency, inclusion, and understanding of our budget with community, our labor partners, etc. They appreciated the meeting. They appreciated our candor about where we are. And they are and right now speaking to a FICMAC to see if they could also agree with our plan moving forward, where it's our plan B while we do this work, which is that we're gonna use one-time funds to fill the $10 million ask until next year, so that we don't have to make structural cuts right now, but we have to make them next year. So they said that because of our candor and our prioritization of the budget, at least the people in the meeting agreed. So if FICMA agrees with our plan, we won't have to specifically cut 10 million by the end of this month, which is good news. Now, that does mean that our deficit obviously might grow by next year, right? Which Dr. McIntyre did share with us, but it gives us the time to do this work right, with inclusivity, slowing it down so that we don't miss anything. And you know, we can include even more folks. So that's as soon as we get the go ahead from them, they're gonna actually change the directive and send us a new letter, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. As soon as that is official, we will share that with all of you so that we can slow down this process a little bit. Okay. Any questions about this, Dr. Hurst? Actually, anything you'd like to
Yeah,
add?
you captured everything. I just say, Lynn Mackey, Superintendent Mackey checked in with me after our
Oh,
conversation.
great.
And she just wanted to see how you were feeling about the meeting. I told her that you thought that the meeting went really well. And she just wanted to make sure that she was kind of meeting our needs. So I think it's gonna go pretty smoothly with it.
That's wonderful to
Yeah.
hear. Well, folks in the committee, any questions about this?
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, That's it, Clerk Stillwell, thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, President Gonzalez Hoy, for your leadership. Thank you, Superintendent Hurst. We have the ability to make sure that we're getting this done correctly, and that's the main intent, is to make sure that we do it and do it well. Structure and process of the committee. Dr. Hurst, can you run through that for us?
Absolutely. I think nothing has changed. I think we see the norms here. The norms are still the same. To recognize everyone and the perspectives that they bring to the table. I think we've been doing a really good job of that. Assuming good intent as well. I've noticed that as well. Everyone's been speaking positively. Everyone's been really good with listening to one another. So awesome job. We take breaks when we need them, and we ask questions to seek understanding. I've noticed that as well. So kudos for following all the norms, everybody. There's four big buckets that we have to make sure we categorize these contracts in. One is we're deciding not to make any cuts today, so there's no consensus. So that's one bucket. The second bucket is we're deciding in a consensus that we are going to make cuts, and the consensus is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's either a thumbs up, a sideways, or a thumbs down.
Yes.
How we're reaching consensus. The third bucket is we're going to potentially cut, but it's going to be in the future years, maybe not for this year. And then the fourth bucket is there's not consensus, which means that we're going to bring that contract to the board, larger board, for discussion, and then the decision will be made there. So those are the four big buckets.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. Everyone, we did a really good time, a really good job last time of saving. So we're gonna listen to the contracts. This is special ed. We're gonna listen to our special ed department. And we're gonna, again, listen for understanding, ask those questions that we need. And then, yes, sir.
Sorry, Clerk Stillwell, I think that we gotta finish ed services,
Absolutely. I forgot about that.
and then we have to move this bed.
Sorry, we gotta finish ed services and then we'll move to SPED. Are we having a presentation from Dr. McIntyre? No.
Was it a continued conversation about contracts and what we're going to cut?
Yeah, so what we were doing last time, I think we stopped at page 11. And not to frighten our SPED department who's here waiting, but we still have 11 through 77 to go.
Right.
Oh, but this is the thumbs up, middle,
Yes.
thumbs down. Okay.
Unless you prefer to do this after, but I think that we'll probably forget.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get this done.
Frank, I bring my notes.
I didn't bring
for that.
yeah. But it has to have a-
Thought I had them. Services.
But-
the ed services have to be drafted into that.
Okay, so you didn't bring the big packet?
That's what that, yes.
We need the big packet. Okay, so hold on. I think I have an extra. You have a few extra?
Thank you.
Okay. John, if you're able to have the packet, would it be able to refresh
I
some
have my,
memory with
like,
you?
Notes.
Okay. Would it be able to refresh a little bit for you?
I
Okay.
have this.
Okay, so the way we did it, thumbs up, we're cool. In the middle, you get to say why. Thumbs down, you get to say why. And then we revote.
I think we're gonna have to project it again, Clerk Stillwell, just so that
Everybody in the Zoom can see us. Okay, Dr. Hurst is doing that now, right?
Dr. Hurst, do you have the document from last time?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up. It should be up right now.
Oh, great, thank you.
For ed services.
Thank you so much.
And President Gonzalez Hoy, you're gonna lead us through this again?
Would you like?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just tell me what area.
We are moving to
Expanded learning.
expanded learning. Thank you.
And that's on page 11 for us
Page
in the
11,
room.
yes, everybody else, page 11.
Everyone in the room, it's page 11.
It's being projected right now on Zoom.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're good, President Gonzalez Hoy.
Thank you. Sorry, I just need to ground myself on. Dr. Hirsch, remind us, expanded learning, we can't really cut anything from expanded learning, right?
Correct.
Okay, Let me just-
On the line.
Okay.
is there anybody in the committee that wanted to speak about anything under expanded learning? remember, this is all after school or before school program, so it's, cutting this does not mean that we can pay something for during the day school, so it's not as easy as what, well, not easy, but as, it's not equal to the other work that we're doing where we can cut something to pay for something else, or, you know, cut something from restricted to pay for something unrestricted. This is purely for after school or before school program, so maybe we can take 5 minutes to review
Okay.
all of expanded learning. If anyone has questions or wants to discuss specific contracts, we can take those on. Is that okay?
I think that's wonderful.
Okay,
I just have a clarifying question.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So anything after school, it would not be cut for those funds to go to the regular school hours.
that's correct. That's correct, yeah.
So what would be the purpose of even that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm thinking we'll just skip this, but, oh, wonderful.
Okay,
You okay with
I'll
that?
second that motion.
Oh,
great.
yeah, I'll-
Everybody agree to move on? Ms. Persley, are you in agreement to move on? Because we can't cut anything? Okay, we're all in agreement to move on.
Okay. Well, this definitely makes it much
Yes.
shorter for us.
That means we're gonna move to page 62,
Thank you,
curriculum and STEM.
thank you. Okay,
So we can see everything you're doing, you know that,
Yeah,
right?
I'm just adding her,
Oh, okay.
just in case, so she
Okay.
can get on
And then we're at curriculum,
and STEM.
instruction and STEM, yeah.
oh my gosh, your calendar stresses me out, Dr. Hurd.
Yeah. It always stresses me out. Yeah.
So-
He just doesn't to show everybody. how
Let's
much
No, no,
it
no,
is.
no, no. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So we
Whoops.
want to go to this one, so you gotta switch
I'm
your
just
screen.
kidding. Okay, everybody, please turn to page 62. So we're gonna start at the very top. Especially, we're gonna start with the first
Oh, you're
contract
there.
on the top as well, just so you know. So the first is, pure, I remember pure materials and supplies. The staff recommendation is that this is discontinued. It was coming out of one-time money, if I remember correctly. So let's vote up, sideways, or down. I mean, they're already proposing to discontinue it, so we just have to agree or disagree. Okay, so remember, thumbs up means I want to keep it. It should stay the same. Sideways is I can live with it. Down is we want to discontinue
I
it.
need clarification on which one you're on.
Oh, I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Page
We're on
62.
Page 52, the very top,
Yeah.
the contracts for 140,839 cents.
I'm highlighting it right now too.
Yeah, that was actually a literacy order. It wasn't a contract. That's why I was confused.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you. You're right. Okay, are we okay? Let's go. Mr. Dillian. Awesome. Okay, so
Miss,
that's a no.
Miss Kitchen, would we get this money back or no?
No, it was one.
No, it's one-time fund, so we don't get it back. Okay,
Right, that one was just, it was a purchase.
a purchase,
So,
okay.
yeah.
President, will you, President Gonzalez, will you tell me if we get stuff back so I can write it down? Okay,
And then Dr. Hurst, are you keeping up the sheet?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And you caught the no, right? Great. Okay, let's move to the next one. This, Now-
Was this a change of budget on the, business out of Caldwell grant?
so this one was no cost to the district. Dr. McIntyre, could you remind us real quick? This one,
Being charged, I think you're right, the funding source identified as the LCAP, even though the notes say it's supposed to be coming out of the grant. So
oh,
I'll follow up on the Coswell grant right now. So I would say if it's coming out of the LCAP, then probably a good idea to consider it by the group, but let me.
and this pays for CERN for the school district?
Right, the note made by Ed Services when they were here is that it should be journaled to the Cal grant and that it's gonna be a district-wide purchase next year out of the Cal.
so if
Okay.
it comes out of the grant, we get it back, right? If it comes out of the grant, because if this, we're using grant funds, then that frees up $92,500, correct?
Correct, in the LCAP.
Yeah.
They currently have a place
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
So Dr. Hurst is
So I
going
can count.
to, I mean, Dr. McIntyre is
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
to
but
confirm.
we had cut like $14 million in the forest and fives and the and we assumed we needed, we were gonna find those 14, 15 million in what we brought to the board and say we can afford to do this. While we're doing the negotiation part, so you're helping finalize that work, so it's not new dollar savings, but it's important that we do it.
It was already cut.
So I don't get it back. That's, okay.
Okay, but you're finding out, Dr. McIntyre, if it is assured that we're getting it out of that grant. Okay. If we don't get it, well, let's just wait. Why take that on? Okay, let's move on. The next three items were for the Fab Lab, Home Depot, order, and then materials and supplies for Project Lead the Way. All of these were one-time funds. And then staff's recommending not to bring it back. So why don't we vote? Do we agree, disagree, or are we okay with not having it again?
But those were some of those that we have no choice over, it wasn't.
Right, so these were all, I mean, last time we did all the ones that were no in the category, we just kind of skipped because they're already full.
I know.
Do we want to do that then? Okay, let's do that then. Let's skip all the no's because we agree. Sorry, I have a,
It's okay.
okay. Next one will be the $250,000 Imagine Learning contract. Staff's recommending to keep it. I don't even remember what this one was about, but
Ingenuity.
yeah. Yeah. Dr. Hurst, would it be possible for anyone from Ed Services to join us?
Yeah, I just, sent a message. I'm gonna call her.
I do have notes on it.
Because there were two ingenuities, right?
Independent study for online classes with in-person teachers.
Hmm.
So this is the one that they needed for credit recovery. for
That's right.
high school.
So there was two different ingenuities. One was, you had to have a, remember we had that discussion, we had to have a teacher inside
Yeah.
and one on Zoom,
Yeah, this was the one that replaced not hiring a teacher
not hiring a teacher. This one was, okay.
for the sites that cannot adjust anything to put a teacher in the classroom.
This was the one.
This is the one they use. The question would be, do we need to keep it? Because we're potentially thinking we're not gonna have teachers again next year? Or is it that we're gonna say, we're gonna hire everybody, so this can go away?
Let me get.
So this was not the asynchronous one. This is the one where we have teachers in class. The other one was the asynchronous,
Which other one?
the one on the next page.
Because you remember there were two.
On the back,
Page 63, yeah.
right?
Oh.
So how was this one different again?
This one is for in-person teachers.
Got it. The next one is backup teachers.
Correct.
Okay, well, if I remember correctly, what we were told was that they wanted to keep it because they expect that next year we're gonna need it, as we might not be able to hire all the teachers that we need.
This one or the next one, President Gonzalez,
Oh my gosh, they wanted both.
because they wanted both, right? But there was a difference between the two. One was, Principal De Leon, help me out here. One was you have ingenuity. The kids are in the class, but anybody,
Sorry, I think, my colleague from SSA was correct. The
Okay.
one on page 62 is straight learning recovery, meaning you either make up your credits to
Right.
graduate. The one on page 63 for 170 was lack of teachers in the classroom. So together, it is 400,000.
So lack of teachers in the classroom means that it's, the teachers on Zoom on the second one?
it means that they can do the work, and they have to have someone in the room. Director Johnson, can you help us out?
Basically, the teacher is actually teaching but they're doing it through Zoom.
Okay, on the second, on page 63, that particular contract, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we vote on both of them together?
Okay,
Sure, Ty.
before you do that,
Sorry.
the second one that's listed at 170,000 has actually been increased and it's now 435,000.
Oh, geez,
Just thought I'd check.
okay.
Wait, the second one?
The
It
second
might be helpful. I'm trying to get somebody from Ed Services before we vote.
It might be
It's
helpful,
such a
yeah.
big contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would want to see somebody weigh in on that.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, I think this is work for, since this is a public committee, right, the conversation of we're hearing messaging that we're overstaffed, and then we're also hearing on documents that we're not anticipating should hire the teachers meeting, so it might be worthwhile a comment to the audience about what that cognitive dissonance is, you know?
Yeah, and Ed Services did say during their conversation that they had 175 students at each school at the onset, and then more were added in the second semester, and that increases to cover the addition.
I recall them saying that this has increased the amount of students graduating because it's allowed for many students to do credit recovery and so you see. I mean, correlative, right? We can't say causal, but we've seen a higher number of students graduating, so.
I also remember them saying that we couldn't offer just 20% anymore because there were not enough teachers for 20%. So we needed this due to the fact that we just don't have enough bodies to offer the program.
I think what my confusion is, do we need both? Right? And the second one is increased to 430, increased about 300 something $1,000. But so I would need some clarification around, again, if we need both, because I can't remember which one we were talking about to where the kids just come into the room and another teacher has to be in that room, but that teacher doesn't have, it may be a math teacher and the kids working on Ingenuity may be doing physics. So it doesn't have to have the same, you don't have to match up the credential with the Ingenuity program. That was one, I remember that.
Maybe the increase was because
Well,
I
this
remember
is here,
Director
yeah.
Chilcott said that they were expanding it to summer. So maybe
That's
it's
it.
summer offerings.
Could we have Ms. Martin speak to President Gonzalez Hoy? If it's okay with you, could we have Ms. Martin speak to some of this?
And this one was actually Gates.
Come on, just kind of refresh it. We just got.
You want to refresh?
Sure. Good morning, Ms. Huffman. We are discussing the contracts for Ingenuity. There are two, and we wanted to see if you could offer us some insight again on the difference of both, and the reason why we need to continue them, as well as why we're expanding one of them. Were you able to hear me?
I can hear you. Can you? So there's two different, we're talking about Imagine Learning, right? Sorry.
No. Can you go down on the
Yes.
screen? We're talking about Edgenuity.
Which is Imagine
Which is
Learning.
Oh,
Imagine
sorry,
Learning.
Imagine Learning, yes, sorry.
Okay, so Edgenuity is actually providing courses for our students because there's no classroom teachers. So for example, some of our A through G courses, math, science, hard to fill courses, we're offering Edgenuity at some of our high schools so we can ensure our students actually receive their credits. So that is why, and it's being expanded because we still don't have teachers. So the contract was extended or expanded. So we don't have math teachers. We've basically been paying for Edgenuity staff who has credentialed teachers who actually are teaching the class. And so those teachers who are doing those 20%, the 0.2, those teachers are going into the classroom and sitting in the classroom while the teacher is actually teaching the course. So we still have a credentialed teacher from the school and a credentialed teacher online who's actually teaching the course. The reason we went that route is because we were having, like a PE teacher teach a math course, trying to sub a math course, or an English teacher try to sub a science course. And the reality is that the amount of time that it took to lesson plan and do that type of work, nothing was really happening in those classrooms. And so therefore we went this route with Edgenuity. So that's why you see it. And I imagine if those courses are still hard to fill next year, we'll still need to maintain some level of that contract.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Vaughn has a question.
I just want, so that, uh-oh, sorry.
You don't have.
You have to do it.
Okay.
You on mute.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, you can-
Okay. I was just wondering why I was echoing.
Are you muted or unmuted?
I'm muted.
She's muted.
I'm muted.
It's not that way. You have to do it on the control panel over here. There you go.
Oh, sorry, I was not muted.
That's okay.
So I just wanted to, okay, so now I'm understanding, one is credit, one program is credit repair, and then the other one is just because there's not enough teachers. Is that's what I'm hearing? I just want to make sure. So the first one is credit repair, the second
Yes.
one program is because there are not enough teachers.
That's correct.
Online plan, okay. This
Yes.
online course.
Right. So the other one we use is for credit recovery, which we use during the summer. And even during the school year for students who may have missed credits. And then the other one is for teachers when we need replacement teachers.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to clarify what I think I'm hearing. So basically, because we can't hire in these credentials, we are putting an adult body of our staff in the room to also have an online teacher teaching with the credential. So we have two
Like
people.
the ADA, if we don't have an adult credentialed person in the room.
Yeah, so we are essentially hiring two people to teach one class.
Right.
And this has to do with lack of credentials and that we need in this area.
Unicorns and steam. Do later.
It feels crazy to me that we're spending so much money on something like this. I don't know what the solution is, so I'm not implying that I'm suggesting an alternative. But it feels a little, right, a little like,
How many teachers, do we know now how many teachers we're gonna need for next year that are in the empty spots? If we have 75 empty spots, do we know that we still have 75 empty? Does that make sense? Like currently we have 75 empty spots this year. I'm making up a number. Do we know next year we have 75? Say it again.
We have a very exact sheet, school by school, subject by subject.
Okay,
HR Uses and it's going back and forth between HR and position control every single day.
so positions are getting filled though?
I can't speak to the efficacy of HR.
I mean,
I can go.
knowing the program is going up, right? Knowing that the cost has increased, that would imply that they're still not hiring.
That's for this year.
For this year.
That's for
Well-
this year. So what about for next year? Like, are we already making the assumption that we're going to have the same 75 empty spots plus more empty spots?
seen a head nod.
I would say yes, because this is English, math teachers in terms of, if you just look at, I have some data trends around just the number of people actually going into teaching credential programs, just the number of administrators going into programs. The numbers have diminished greatly across the state. So you have less teachers going into programs, less principals going into programs, and therefore you're going to have less math and science teachers actually wanting to teach in high school and middle school. So I would predict, you can talk to Dr. Greenwood, but I would predict that you're still going to have vacancies. I would predict that you're still going to have especially hard to fill courses, math and science. You're still going to have vacancies next school year. And the reality is that parents don't want a PE teacher giving their students worksheets, right? And so this was an alternative to that, which was having a credential teacher that Edgenuity. These teachers are online, they're in different states, different areas, and they're teaching the course, providing the curriculum. They do their grading for it, because that also creates a challenge when you have 0.2s constantly subbing in and out of a math class or a science class. You don't have the grades for those students. They're not keeping track of grades or track of the work because each day it's a different person. In this case, you actually have the Edgenuity teacher who is assigned to that classroom as that teacher. It's not the best solution. I don't know the long-term solution for hard to fill vacancies, but I do predict that there will still be math and science vacancies, which are A through G required, open next school year.
And right now, it's primarily chemistry, physics, biology, math, English, PE at the secondary level. We have SPED, we have say again?
Is there a subject? that
ELI.
we don't?
That sounds like a lot of subjects to me.
There's still 38 unfilled vacancies across the system.
My brain is exploding right now because it's like, we're hearing that we're overstaffed and we have to cut positions and then.
Well, there should be fewer positions last year compared to this year, because we're gonna have fewer students next year than we have this year. We are on a decline. We don't have we're not aware of like a massive new construction projects kind of around the city. They're gonna really kind of stymie that.
I think the issue that I have, if I may, President Gonzalez Hoy, is having 2 credentialed teachers in the room, right? If I'm hearing that a credentialed teacher in science is teaching science online, right? We have virtual school, we have that, the science teacher teaches the science class online. The issue I have is having another teacher in that same room doing in the same room doing the classroom management, you may go to the bathroom class.
But that's by law.
Yes, it is by law, but we do things where we have a credentialed teacher and another person that's a non-credentialed person in the same room all the time. So my question is there a savings to where you could have a credentialed teacher like we have in the room and a non-credentialed person in the room like we do all the time? Listen, I know there's not a windfall of aides. I know there's not a windfall of anybody in the room, but could a parent volunteer do it like they've done it before? That we do that, right? We have a credentialed teacher in the room and then we have a parent volunteer in the room. Can we do that, or is that not able to be done?
You have to have a credentialed person in the room. They don't have to have the right credential, but you have to have somebody with a CTC credential.
So-
You can't take the ADA.
So you can't, so how
That's
do we get
correct.
away with it on virtual school?
So there-
Because the kid's not in the room?
Because the kids aren't in the classroom. The kids are online. That's the reason.
So somebody else is watching them. So if Billy drop off and hit his head, it's not on us because Billy's at home. Is that what
But
you
they're-
mean?
Yes, they're at home with their parent, grandmother, guardian, whoever, right? This is different because the students are physically in a West Contra Costa school, physically in a West Contra Costa classroom, which by law, we are required to have a credentialed teacher in the classroom. And as
A
Dr.
credentialed
McIntyre
person
said,
in the room.
yes, it
Okay.
cannot be an aide, it could be a sub, but the sub can only be in there for 30 days max. So that's why we do the 0.2s. But again, the 0.2s was not effective because what was happening was the 0.2s were not, you're picking up a 0.2 when you get to work in the morning. So you're not thoroughly prepared to teach chemistry or physics if you don't have the background in physics or chemistry, nor are you able to plan the lessons for that appropriately. So what we were finding was that kids were sitting in class, playing on computers, playing on their phones, or doing worksheets. And so that wasn't effective. And so, and lots of complaints from parents. So this is the route that we went, which has been more effective. It's not the solution. There has to be a long-term plan for recruitment, especially for hard to fill courses. But this is not just a West Contra Costa issue. This is
The question,
national issue.
the question is, so we really won't know our staffing till about end of July, August. Can we step back from the second contract and bring it back in August as we see the need? Or is it better to keep that contract going now in projecting need for lack of teachers?
So we're paying for what we're actually using. So it's not you need 5 today, but you hire somebody, you're stuck with 5. We're paying for what we're using. It can be, there's some flexibility. Larisha, is that how you recall that contract? It's been probably 7 months since I read it.
Yes, that is correct. But Gabe does set up the contracts in the summer for next school year, because as the school year starts, we're probably gonna have vacancies. So you need that contract already running and operating and ready to go so that we can actually get a teacher on board the first day of school if we don't have science teacher, chemistry teachers, et cetera. So it is important that there's funding for it. Is Robert talking with me? It's important that there's funding available and that the contract is set so that you can go ahead and start hiring or having it, Edgenuity put those teachers in place for those classrooms. I predict there's still going to be vacancies, so there needs to be a plan forward that's proactive.
Ms. Shaw, I have a question.
This may be lack of, ignorant question on my part, lack of knowledge there, because I'm still trying to figure out why aren't if the teacher's in the class, why aren't the students in the class?
Yeah.
So they are in the class.
They're in the class.
That's the difference between virtual and, so this program, all the students are in a class, but
Okay.
then they're being taught by someone who's not
Okay.
their near. Yeah.
The teachers are,
It's
okay.
the
Yeah,
opposite.
the kids are in the
Okay,
class.
okay.
Yeah.
A credential person is only there pretty much to take role and make sure that everyone's on the computer with the virtual.
Okay.
So I do have one last question, if I may. How do we know who tracks the credential of the person online? Is that done by their program? Does Ingenuity track the teacher that they're hiring online? Because that's them, right? So we're contracting out and we're making sure, who makes sure that their science teacher is teaching science to our kids? Do you understand my question? Yeah.
It's a contract.
So there in the contract, it says you have to have a science teacher teach the science course.
Contract says that the content we are presenting
Uh-huh.
is done by subject matter and it meets A through G requirements. So
Okay.
That's,
That's on them.
we don't have to fit them.
Okay. So our HR
Contracts.
doesn't track that. That's within the contract.
That's within they're supposed to provide the correct credential curriculum and person.
Okay.
Are we paying per, are they paying per student? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, I just took your time, I'm sorry.
And I'm giving you a face.
I'm just trying to, are they paying per
Per teacher.
per teacher per period, not per student? Okay. Okay.
I would suggest we probably move forward. I know there's a lot here. There's a lot of questions. I don't think we're at a place where we should probably cut this based on what we're seeing. I'm not trying to lobby. We'll do that after. But I think we have a lot of questions here and we're on ed services and we're here to talk about special ed. So just for the sake of time, we might want to, I move that we call the question.
I do have one comment first is, I think the contract itself needs to move forward because we will need them in some capacity next year. I mean, even if it's only for 2 teachers, we do need to lock the company in so that they don't go to other districts and we don't have the availability at all.
Okay, well, let's just move forward. My suggestion is that we approve the contracts and then if staff comes back in summer and feels that this is not a contract that we need because we fill the positions, then for them to come back to us, because we're still gonna be doing the work, and then we can cut it then. Is that okay?
If I can just make a comment too.
Yeah.
I just checked with Ed Services. They are all conducting interviews, so we have a lot of principals that are being hired this season, so that's what's going on right now. So that's why she has to
had to
leave.
step away.
So, yeah, so if we get to a contract where we're debating, there's not gonna be anyone that can really weigh in, so I've asked if we could just hold off on making that decision until we can get someone like Larisha out of the interview, so we can get her in.
Well, we're moving it forward, so
Okay.
unless you wanna.
No, I mean for anything else.
Oh, got it. Okay, so let's move forward, let's vote, everybody.
On both.
On Ingenuity.
To move.
Imagine
Oh,
that,
okay.
to move it forward. Okay, it passes with 2 abstentions, Dr. Hurst. Both contracts.
And Dr. Hurst,
Are
as
you
a,
taking notes, sir, or am I taking notes?
I got it.
I got you. Okay,
Dr. Hurst, as a caveat, I would appreciate an update. If it's 435,000, if we get a teacher and it goes to 433, let us know. If it goes to
Right.
432, let us know. If it goes to 431, let us know, because I don't want that. We can't squirrel that money under the bed,
right.
right? When you know, let us know, right? So we can then put it back into our kitty.
Okay, next one is on page 63. We're gonna move to the one that's 138,000. It is for the Reading Writing Project Network. There are three, staff has recommended 3 no's, 1 yes. The 1 yes is the 45,000.
Did we skip the iReady,
Did I skip
We
that?
did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bottom of 62.
Where is that?
the very last line?
Oh, I'm
Because we went to 63, because we put two ingenuities
Yeah,
together.
sorry, I was already. Okay, Renaissance Learning, bottom of 62 for 188,000.
That's the credit.
We're at the bottom of page 62, the Renaissance Learning.
Is it for Renaissance Learning or iReady?
Or the other.
One or the other?
Yeah, they're.
Either Renaissance or iReady. They said they were gonna pick one of the assessments, and they just don't know which one is gonna get chosen yet.
Okay, are there any questions on this one before we vote? It's our reading assessment tool. We don't really have another one, so really, we don't have much of a choice, but. Yes,
I just have a comment. I would highly encourage staff to consider Renaissance and Star. I had some concern, and it was mentioned last week that we would be moving away from a standardized assessment. While I do think the other one is great as a supplement, and that type of assessment is useful for determining how to provide students, we still do need to know how they do comparisons with sort of the general population. It's actually really important for special education. For us to be able to do what's called child find, which is part of the special education IDA law, which specifies districts have a responsibility to catch students who may have disabilities. And so standardized measures like this, aka screeners, are really important. So while I'm not speaking on the contract specifically, I'm speaking to staff on pursuing one of these options.
thank you. Okay, let's go for, let's do the vote. Everybody in favor, oppose, or abstain? Ms. Persley? Great, so we're moving it forward. Dr. Hurst, I agree with Mr. Shavala. I would prefer if we keep AR as our tool. Just because we don't have the money for training for iReady, to be honest.
So I
It's
do
really more
know,
of that than.
I do know that there's a grant that has been written for iReady as well for K through 8
Okay,
also,
okay, good to know.
For all schools,
for K through 8. But they wouldn't-
all of our K through
Yeah,
8.
all of our districts.
Okay, let's move to page 63. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving to Reading Writing Project Network. Again, 3 of these, which is the bulk of the money, were a no from staff. They do want to keep the $45,000, which I don't remember what it was for. Do you remember?
So the 45, 91354 was blank to be paid from Educator Effectiveness Grant next year. So basically it's a no on all of them.
Oh, okay.
Because they have funding from a grant.
They're gonna pull it from the grant.
That's it. Great, thank you, Ms.
So
Kitchen.
do we get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't we vote? Let's take it all together. Oh, Mr. Sabala's gone. All right, let's vote anyways. He's missing it. I mean, sorry.
So we get that money back, right, Ms. Kitchen?
So voting to allow them to move it, or are we voting to say, no, you can't move it, just cut it?
I think we're voting to say that we're not going to be using that money out of LCAP.
Yeah, we're cutting it from unrestricted.
So we get it. Okay. And the amount was 45?
91354.
Now, the rest is also not continuing, so it's all that one time. It says supplemental, so was it coming from one-time money? Or LCAP?
So the rest we got, they had in learning recovery and a little bit down to another 10,000 in LCAP.
Okay,
But they're not ready to do those.
They're not
parts.
going to.
got it. So out of all this, how much would we save from the LCAP? Just the 45,000
And the 10.
and the 10, okay, so 55,000.
56,000.
Well, the 10 had already been pulled earlier, so we don't get to count that on our.
Right.
Oh, okay, so just the 45.
Right.
Oh, question over here?
Oh, no, there's an online question.
Oh, okay, we already, Ms. Persley. you have a
Yeah,
question?
yeah, I just want to make sure I'm voting correctly because
Yeah,
thumbs up means whatever the recommendation is, right? The thumbs up means keep it. And
that's
thumbs
right.
down means no. So if the recommendation is no and you agree, you're thumb down. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Correct. No, thank you for asking. Okay, let's vote, everybody.
1-1.
Okay, perfect. So, we're cutting it. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. On the, $45,000, we're keeping and cutting the rest.
So we're cutting it all,
Oh.
including the 45, but the Ed Service will, pay for that through
Out
a
of the-
grant.
Out of another funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Next one is News to You for 69,000. Staff recommends to keep it. Are there any questions and comments on this one?
I don't remember what it's for.
Does anyone remember what it's for? Oh, yeah. Part of the unique. The software license, so it sounds like it was.
So I have a 1, 2, and 3 on that one. The next one, the iReady and the Curriculum Associates, that all of them were really kind of, or actually, there's a, it says all 4. So there's a 4 in there. That they were all tied together and then they all. It says all 4 adaptive curriculum for staff.
Which suggests,
Is it for you?
They give it to everybody this year, so I think that's the confusion.
Um,
A unique learning system, has the News to You that is connected.
Got it. So this amount of 69,000, is that include sped or is that just to share it with general ed?
It's things like.
That's the expansion. Got it. Okay, so if we were to cut it, we're just cutting the expansion. We're not cutting it for sped. Got it. Okay, that's good to know. I'm sorry for putting you both on the spot, but what is your thoughts on this contract before we move forward? So we have no one else to ask at the moment.
Be honest, I don't know of anybody who's using it.
Okay.
Great
That's really
answer.
all we needed to know.
How much is that? How much did we get back?
69,000.
But I
Gotcha.
could be wrong, but
Break? Sure.
You need a break? Okay.
You feel that?
Yeah, I'm always up for a break.
Okay,
Okay.
why don't we take a break, everybody?
It's 10:43. Do you want a 10-minute, 15-minute? You want to just start at 11?
5 minutes?
5 minutes?
5 minute break, everyone.
Can you mute the owl and then,
Everyone who's watching, we're gonna take a 5 minute break.
put up
Thank
there
you.
that
I did it for you.
Oh, I just touched it.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, I'm good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, we took an extra 5 minutes. Can somebody, Ms. Persley, can you hear us? Okay, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you so much for your flexibility and your patience, with this. President Gonzalez Hoy, can I make a motion?
Yes.
I move that because we don't have anyone from Ed Services, and because we have a lot of questions, which are great questions, and because the county has given us more time, I move that we move past Ed Services, we hear our presentation from special ed, and like Auntie Maxine says, we try to reclaim some of our time, right? We try to reclaim some of our day. So that's my motion. May I get a second?
Second.
Great. You want to call the vote?
Sure. Are we doing an official vote on this?
I don't know if it's official vote. I don't know. Everybody okay with that? Great. All right. We're okay.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, well then, Sped came earlier. So we'll pass it to you, folks, if that's okay. And then we're gonna come back to Ed Services after, once someone's available. There you go, thank you.
You're welcome. Does everyone in the room have this packet? Okay, this is what we're gonna be looking through. Director Johnson?
So, I actually had an opportunity to go through and just try to add some notes, to some of these things. But we're gonna start with CSAFE, and, I would like Coordinator Moses to kind of explain, the meaning of CSAFE and, where we are in the, planning and expenditures that we're currently.
All right, good morning, everyone. Oh, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, wonderful. So glad to be here with you today to talk a little bit about our CSAFE plan and the expenditures attached to the plan. Much like the entire special education budget, these monies are tied to activities and actions that are written into a state plan. So what you'll see in the CSAFE budget is many of the things are going to be not continuing because they're part of the previous plan. So I just wanted to start with that by sharing kind of the structure of the expenditure. So if we look at this initial page. Oh, the CSAFE plan, actually, there's a requirement that 15% of the IDEA budget be set aside in order to address the issue of significant disproportionality in special ed placement. Our district was being significantly disproportionate in the area of African Americans with emotional disturbance. The ratios of the number of students we had qualified over a period of 6 years actually exceeded the expected ratio by the state. So because of that, at year 4, a CSAFE plan is triggered. And that plan has to be written, the issue has to be investigated to find out what the root causes are. And then the plan has to be created to address those root causes with our students in order to fix the disproportionality. So I'm happy to say that this year, we are no longer disproportionate. Yeah. So the 15% set aside will not be required with next year's budget. We did have a set aside with this year's budget because we have a 2022 plan that will be implemented until September 30th of 2024. So that plan is in the process of being created with the site people, and expenditures for that plan will show up on next year's budget, but will not show up today. Okay, but again, for next year, the 15% set aside, which is in the ballpark of $1 million, will be going back to the general fund and will not be allocated the SPED general fund, the IDEA.
Oh, the SPED, okay, because I was about to write it down. It's the SPED general fund, okay. Okay,
It won't have to go to the state. So all of these items here, the impact is just for 1 year for next year, but they won't even show up in today. So I'm happy to review it with you and walk you through it. This first tab actually is the infant preschool budget. Even though in CSA, we do not service infant preschool, as a part of the requirement of the 15% set aside for IDEA, even those funds are set aside and added to the plan. So you'll see expenditures here that are not related to infant or preschool, but that's under the allowances of the plan, the expectations of the state in carrying out the plan and stuff, okay? So looking at this first tab, CCEIS, IDEA, infant and preschool, if you look, there's a notes tab on the C column, and the B column is whether we're continuing it. Most of these are materials and supplies that were purchased for the intervention programs that were happening at our 4 school sites, and those sites are King, Lincoln, Ohlone, and Shannon. Service providers and teachers at these sites provide additional resources to students in order to address disproportionality. And these were materials used to support that program. So the first line item is Amplify Education. That is an online service used by Lincoln Elementary for their students for their intervention program. They have full access to the program, and it is not going to be a continuing expenditure. The next line item, the next 2 line items are materials and supplies. As a part of our plan activities, we provide everything that's needed to the school sites that are implementing these plans. So for that reason, we do keep a Southwest supply budget and an Amazon supply budget, so that the school sites and the service providers have access to gaining the materials that they need. That is going to continue with our 2022 plan with the next year's expenditures. However, this year we sent groups of teachers to the Unbound Ed Institute, because a part of our plan is also developing the capacity of teachers to support students in order to decrease disproportionality. But that was a 1-year thing. We do not plan to continue that next year at this point. It's not in the plan. The final expenditure here is we're sending a group of students from Lincoln and from King to an SEL camp, Camp Maymac through the Mosaic Project. And that is in this year's plan in order to provide them experiences under the umbrella of SEL. So that is also a 1-year expense for this year's plan. And that's the entirety of the IDEA preschool budget. Are there any questions about that? All right, we can go to the next tab. And the next tab is also 15% set aside, but it's under the central IDEA budget. And it's much of the same. Again, we have materials and supplies that go to the 4 school sites that we serve. We also invested in things such as at-home libraries for the students, books for the reading, accelerated reader program, which is used at most of the schools. And Windsor Learning is we enhance the learning centers at those schools. So those are materials and supplies that were purchased to supplement and to enact the activities at the 4 school site. Those are in the 2020 plan. We will not need to revise those things in the next year's plan. You can scroll down.
Ms. Moses,
Yes,
sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure. So all these pages, all the way to page 6, they are the 15%, right? Which next year is going back to the SPED general fund.
yes, but it's just the first 2.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
the 2 that say state. Oh, you don't have that. So, this is the final, the second page is state.
Oh, that's the final.
The general, the central allocation of the state.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so, and I'll scroll down and say there's 2 consultants that we are gonna continue for next year set aside, and that's the Civic Solutions in accordance with plan development, implementation, and progress reports to the state. And the required under the plan, and also images of culture. Dr. Mary Bacon is instrumental in supporting us to help staff address the issues of significant disproportionality and understand it better. But aside from that, everything else is either materials or supplies or the contact that we're going to do. Any questions?
I do have to say, I've had the pleasure of hearing Ms. Bacon several times, and she is dynamic, and she provides so much information. So I I leave each presentation or seminar with her smarter than I came in and more confident as a parent from when I came in. So she's very dynamic. I'm complete.
Ms. Moses, quick question for you. That's 15%, so it's going back to the sped general fund, but, that money cannot be used to pay for other things outside of sped, right?
Correct, because of the IDEA funding.
Got it.
And can I add that the C-State, the support that the schools are getting through, those four schools, the focus is general ed students.
Yes.
So even though it's special ed funding, this is focusing on general ed students because we're trying to prevent disproportionality, which would be over identifying the students. So providing, one of the things that, and didn't they, but we're gonna be having, the sites are gonna be working on a multitude of system support. So really looking at how they, look at tier one, but also their tier two and their tier three, and really having this clear process. And John's looking at me as a psychologist, right? Providing that level of intervention support after that universal screening, if you will, and just seeing how students are progressing and, giving, our teachers also some strategies and some materials to utilize in their classroom to fill in the gaps. Because sometimes so many of our students that are ending up in special ed, sometimes really are not special ed, but because they have such wide gaps, then once we do the assessment, they qualify for special ed. So that's to prevent that.
Can you tell us what CSA stands for again?
Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Service. Sorry about the effort.
Okay, no more questions? Okay,
I can just share, we're having a summer program with the students. And next year's plan, which doesn't reflect here, will also include Stage and Nystrom for expanding to 6 schools. But
So-
again, we are last year, I've seen things that we're no longer.
so next year you're gonna serve Lincoln King, Ohlone, Shannon, Stige, and Nystrom.
And the focus is on RTI, creating RTI plan.
RTI is,
Response
okay.
intervention or multi-tiered system of support,
Okay,
and hopefully do it in a way that is sustaining beyond.
What was the last school?
Nystrom and Stage are being added. But again, I'll end with these are dedicated funds that can only be used, for special education functions and yes, so genetic students, but in order to address the special ed issue.
okay. Any other questions? Okay, let me check Miss Berkeley. Okay, she's good. Okay, and what's our next one?
The next one should be the central lottery, is that, are you on that page?
Mhm.
So that's transportation. First, giving them specifically, so first of all, when, a student is identified, we actually look at if they need transportation, and transportation is provided for many of our students in our essential support needs classrooms and our, now, I call them internet classrooms, and those are our self-contained classrooms. And so what we look at in an IEP, with an IEP team and a parent, to see is that could that student get to school, even though the school may be in their community, could they get to school on their own safely? And so those are the things that we look at. And so if you look here, our budget for transportation is about 9 million. Now, I will defer to Robert, because I did say yes, because many of these services in special ed are IEP driven, and so yes, we have to have,
Director Johnson, before we hear from Dr. McIntyre, MMSN, medium to mild to moderate.
Mild, moderate support needs classroom, and it's in our district, it's a self-contained classroom.
So for example, this would be, Would this be like a Miss Agora's classroom at Hercules Middle School, or she's not?
No, that's.
She's extensive.
Yes.
Okay.
It would be for Miss Lombardi's class.
It's, okay, like a Miss Lombardi's class, okay, MMSN and ESN, extensive support needs and mild to moderate support needs, okay.
And so, they spend most of their time in the, the self-contained classroom, but it does not mean that they should not also be mainstream.
Our MMSN students spend most of their time in that self-contained classroom. However, it doesn't mean they should not be mainstreamed into the general ed classrooms throughout the day. And our ESN classrooms, our extensive support need classrooms, they stay in there all day. Our students are mainstream too.
Well,
Okay,
we see it really more at the secondary school, so, Mr. De Leon is here. He
Okay.
can speak to, my own child is mainstream, he's in ESN and
he's mainstreamed into our class. Nice. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. John?
Did you want to say?
I just want to give everybody a heads up, expect a significant jump in transportation costs for next year,
Great, great, great,
like
great.
30%.
How come?
Most of the transportation companies we work with, in fact, one of them actually exercised the cost of their contract to cancel at the end of summer school. To force us to go out to rebid because their costs have gone up over 40% in the last 2 years during our contract period, and our escalator was only like 5%. And they're losing money, but they're certainly not making what they plan to make on us. And to the point where they would rather lose the business than continue forward. So we've issued an RFP, request for proposals. The last couple of years, we've only had first student actually respond to that proposal. This year, we believe we're gonna have at least one other company. So fingers crossed, they'll keep each other on it. But I would expect them to adjust.
A 30% increase from this?
It's-
Wow.
And we spend a little over another $1 million on non-special ed transportation for sports.
So we're looking at potentially 13, 14 million next year.
Yes.
And is that already included in your projections for the deficit?
Mr. John?
Thank you.
I was just gonna share just for your questions, but so I work at Grant Elementary. Grant Elementary has 3 mild, moderate special support need classrooms. So part of the staffing matrix includes that at sites that have these, they preserve spaces in the general education classrooms because every IEP we plan general, what's the word, mainstreaming, we call it, right? And so it's assumed that it's gonna happen, and so we do make the space within that. But just so you're aware, for example, Grant, that is the only in that area, SCC MMSN classroom. So Grant has 560 students, about 45 of which are in these special day classrooms. And so they come from Lincoln, they come from Eastern, they come from schools that don't have these programs. And so that's why they're bused, because not every school site has these types of programs, especially at the elementary, right? High school is like one-stop shop. But so that's why we have these like bus and transportations done, so that they can come to a school that provides the services that they need based on the IEP.
That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. Are there any, did we hear that there are grants for transportation? Have I heard money coming in from the state about transportation? Am I making this up? Is there money coming in from the state?
60% of our prior year costs. So while we were only getting still like $1.9 million in the LCFF calculator, now we're getting on top of that an adjustment to bring us up to 60% of last year. So we're gonna get another $4.1 million, which just happens to be a double. I expect the raise and the increase to be.
So, okay, so this is good. So we expect an increase of about $4 million, but we also expect to get $4 million from state. Okay, so then it still stays at about $9 million.
So what?
It stays, right?
Yeah, so.
You know, when you look at the net down at the bottom, it should be. close to-
Stay about,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, all right, so. I know that there's not a lot of conversation that we can have around some parts of transportation, but there are some conversations we can have about other parts of transportation in the district, so I'd still like to kind of champion, let's have that conversation.
And some of it will come up in business services, where we have athletics as well as like where we're buying vehicles like vans, because we got small teams, the coaches are actually driving vans we own.
Yes,
So the district has been innovative in that regard.
okay. Side question, how much does a bus cost to buy it? Just curious.
So the standard 2-hour minimum, I want to say is like $480.
No, I mean, like, us buy a bus.
Oh, to purchase a bus. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I haven't been out buses probably 5 or 6 years.
Could you, you know, you have a little downtime,
I'll research that.
just see how much a bus costs.
My understanding is that obviously there was an era where districts had a fleet of buses
Yeah.
and bus drivers. Districts have moved away from that because it was such a huge budgetary issue.
To upkeep.
Well, not just to upkeep, buy, and then pay for the bus drivers. So,
Or split shift.
Right, yeah,
Right.
that was, yeah, I mean, you gotta pay for a yard, you gotta pay for a transportation.
To be able to house the bus and all that stuff.
Drivers.
so it's not really a savings.
It's not a savings. Don't look it up, Fran, that's okay, don't look it up. All right,
I actually have a lot of experience on the transportation side, especially around special ed, but it's, I'm happy to research it.
Listen, if it's just from the conversation we had here, it's fine. Us buying a WCCUS bus would not work, but I do like the idea of at least the vans, so the athletic departments can drive their vans. Okay, I'm complete. Any other questions?
Just out of curiosity about how many students is this?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Just out of curiosity about how many students do you think we are serving with these?
About 700.
700?
And then remember, they also provide summer transportation, which because we have taken all of our programs and we're kind of really like truncating them, we're still serving the same number of students in our EFN and our MFSN programs in their IEPs, they have ESY, and that means that that's extended school year, but it also means that those students are possibly will be rest if they are out of school so long. So we run a 19-day program, 5 weeks, to continue to provide instructions for the.
Only about 16% of our special ed kids are getting transportation.
I'm sorry.
Only about 16% of our special ed population is getting transportation.
Yes, and we also have some parents, because what I've seen, you know, because I have a son, all these are these knowledge reimbursements, is that we have a number of parents that are also getting knowledge reimbursement. So because of, you know, still with COVID, no, we're out of COVID, they still have, some of our kids without medical needs, and some parents are not taking to still work that, and we do have to buy knowledge in there, right?
Is that included the amount that's been paid out for knowledge? Is that included in this presentation as well?
That's not included in this transportation, that's separate.
But does that come out of your budget?
Yes. Somewhere.
The figures you're seeing in this report are anything costing over $5,000. So if it was below 5,000 reimbursement, should be included.
I was just wondering the total cost of it, that's all. Okay.
I just want to add also, because it hasn't come up, that every school has an RSP program and a speech program. So if students are instead for one of those two, there's an offering in the neighborhood schools, transportation is not included. Transportation is only needed for MSN or MSN students who are attending school outside of their attendance area. And it's required for the IEP
Okay.
that they provide that.
So that's what you were talking about, right, Mr. John? Okay. Okay, any other, these buses also take the students to, the Special Olympics and things like that, like things that they have off
Yes,
campus?
we have, like, it should be in here for Special Olympics. That is something that we can do, that is more like an offering. I don't want to say it's an offering, it's really a part of their program.
Right,
So that should be in here as well.
so that's a separate line item, right? Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, we're ready to continue.
So we're at 62 Central 6500. Like him, we also have open deals with Amazon and Southwest, because as things come up in terms of, especially when we do, you know, IEPs and maybe a student may need something, and I thought I had my keys. squishy toys and just different things of that nature, but also just materials and supplies. I do want to say that many of our schools provide materials and supplies for their classroom teachers, but sometimes there's specific things that we need that come up in an IEP that we may need to purchase through Amazon, or we may need to get. And so, that's what those two are for. We also, put in a blanket deal for printers, the toner. We use a lot of toner because we have a PEX system, and PEX system is many times used in our ESN and in some of our MMSN classes, rooms. If our students are nonverbal, you know, it's their way of communicating. So we use a lot of ink. So we have to create those.
Are those the cards that they can point to?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what,
Carrying them.
the cards, yes.
We also have technology for that, but the students, depending on how they react, they may not want to use the technology,
May want the hard copy cards, and those cards get worn a lot, right? So you have to be replaced and
yeah, and
Okay.
then we're adding different pictures as we're teaching them, you know, different, concepts.
okay,
And then I might add for that amount, we can only use district approved printers. They've gotten away from inkjet printers, and everybody has to have code laser printers. And it costs about $800 to replace, for one replacement for all of the ink cartridges for a laser printer. So that $12,000 might cover 15 printers for plenty of for the year. So
And
just
I'll
to
figure out
one
what's
teacher.
our ESN teachers.
Yeah.
yeah, this is real hard.
Okay, I think all agree.
I gotta take my whole
I
glasses
don't know
off.
if it's-
The print
so-
tiny. All right, let's see.
I don't know if it's closer or farther.
Let's see this
It's
print.
really messing with my age.
Do you want me to just share the?
You could.
I have it projected too on the screen.
I can't see that either.
Oh, you see? Oh, you make it bigger.
That's okay.
What about that? Is that
It's
bigger?
okay.
That's a little bit better.
Okay.
But these are the printers that are needed in our summer.
Yes.
So it's
I made it
not
a
like-
bit bigger.
Oh, that's perfect.
No, it's not. Then the next ones are just assessments. So anytime that, you know, we have annual IEPs, but we also have triennial, and our triennial, every 3 years, we have to assess students, but also initial IEPs. We have to assess students. So our psychologists need, these assessment materials. Where you see name redacted, that is reimbursement per mediation. And so, we have mediation, we actually have 2 types of mediations in our district. So sometimes we have a parent that files basically, just a layman's term, they sue us. So we go to mediation before we go to trial, right? And so when we go to mediation, we actually have our district lawyer, they have their lawyer, there's a law judge that does the mediation, many times they're all day. And we come to agreement, and the mediator actually helps us come to agreement. So, you know, we come to agreement if we have violated any part of the IEP. But sometimes too, we come to agreement because it's very difficult for us to not settle. I'll just say that. One of the things that I've gotten as the new SOPA director is why don't we just settle? Why don't we go to court? Why don't we go to trial? To go to trial, to process 75,000. If we lose it could be a lot of money. Let's just say that. So when we do these mediations, we actually try to keep them low and reasonable. And it gives us an opportunity to really look at what the student needs, not what someone wants, but what the student needs. And so that's what we do. So parents that may be taking their students to another program that is not a non-public program, then they actually pay, and then we have to reimburse them. And so that's why their name is redacted. It's also part of the mediation agreement that is confidential.
Okay, so did I miss you talk about psychological?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
No, you did. You talked about it.
Yeah, she talked
Can you
about.
explain this yes or no on this?
Oh, and I didn't, so I'm sorry,
Do you- I
knowing
mean,
this
was that a yes?
process,
Do you want me
I
to
would
put a
say
yes
yes,
in?
we need them. I'm gonna probably say yes, we need everything.
Right.
So,
Right.
because it's IEP driven, it's service driven, but I'm actually happy we're having this process, because to me, this is help us all understand more about special ed and how it, functions.
And NPS is non-public school.
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. There's a lot of acronyms in education. There are a lot more in the special ed. Yeah.
All of you a copy of the last grade for special ed, because
Okay.
I do have it. We have it, so.
Thank you for that.
And then you see the Hilton Garden Inn. No, I'm not just enjoying myself at the Hilton Garden Inn. But, it's a meeting. It's 3 days of meetings. And, basically, the Selwyn director meets with the other 190 Selwyn directors from across the state. We meet every month for 3 days. So we meet in Sacramento 1 month and then 1 month in San Diego. So we'll see something for the Hilton Garden Inn. I can say that the coalition that we're a part of through the state does a good job of giving us the best hotel rates. We're the Hilton Garden Inn that provide all of our needs, and then we're at in Sacramento as well. And so we do that every month. So it's like our back and forth. So that's what that is.
Are those required, Ms. Neely Johnson?
So that-
Are those required meetings for self-ed directors?
You know, I can hardly hear you.
Sorry, are they required meetings or
Yes, the state. So this is where you get all of the information about what's happening in special ed, different laws, different mandates, which are coming fast and furious. And we also hear from our state, special ed director.
got it? Thank you.
And yes, they are required. An MPA is a non-public agency that has been approved by the state. And so we many times will only work with MPAs. If we're contracting, I should say, we're only contracting with MPAs. And this one here is the interpreting and consulting services. And if you break down this contract on it, because I see these monthly invoices, this is for our deaf, hard of hearing interpreters. And they provide, we also have staff that are deaf, hard of hearing, and so they provide that interpreting services. So if I'm a staff member, I have to have that interpreter with me all day. So think of it in that way. And then any other services where we have our our interpreters, where we're doing our meetings. I don't know our meetings, but a lot of sites may do meetings where they request interpreting services.
Clarifying questions about that. This is something that interpreter translators we have in the district, which is represented by Tim Stokes. Are there not enough hired to handle the amount of interpreting?
Yeah, I would say that some of this is for the staff, and so this is really more HR. It just happens to be, some of these things get put under special ed. So I can look into that and get more data, but I think in terms of the person who is with that person, it's more of a.
So it's more for service for you instead of,
It's more service for that,
right, for whoever's, that staff member that needs interpreting. So
right?
they go with them throughout the day.
They're with them all day,
Okay.
that they're at work.
Okay, so if there was an IEP meeting that needed to be translated, wouldn't they just call state to get an interpreter to meet them at the, I don't understand why they need to follow them around all day.
The staff member
Yeah,
that's teaching, that they're
okay, I'm just trying to, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
trying to
I'll
process.
just tell you that in terms of it, is there accommodation?
Yeah.
And so
Okay,
our
okay, got it,
solutions-
understood.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like
speaking
8:38,
to
yeah.
language
That's
interpreter.
right.
She's
Speaking
speaking
to like
sign
ADM, okay,
language.
got it. Thank you for clarifying, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, no, it's okay.
DHH, our Jeff Harder.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Is that the same, did we already talk about the NPA contract checker transport, or we?
I'm hearing that, yeah.
Got it,
Yeah,
sorry,
I
thank
missed
you.
that one, yeah. So this is for students, that cannot ride the bus. They may be in our ESM, they're most times in our ESM programs. And, they're being transported into a non-public school, which is outside our district, or they are also being transported to our schools. And so, because they can't handle being on the bus, they may get up, they cause a disruption, danger, et cetera. They are in the checker transportation, so it's like a cab. So that's the other piece, and you know, many
Is that
times.
the person's name? Okay.
They have a lot of different reasons why they need this, and then also too, it also may come up in our mediated agreement.
So if they go to a non-public school, that's one that's not in the district, because it's a non-public school, and they cannot ride a bus to get there, then we pay for their transportation to go to that non-public school, and we have this company or this person that we contract through, okay? And that's a legal thing, that's a legal thing, we have to provide them
Yes,
transportation,
many times it's in the
IEP.
or it may be in a mediated agreement.
Okay.
Are there a lot of students enrolled in this program to have this checkered services? And is there any way you can get it cheaper?
I would say that as the special ed SOFA director, I have not looked into that because I'm focusing more on placement and programming and services. This is a service we've used since I've been in special ed. I don't know if that's something that our business services would like to do, but that would not be something that I would take on. But, I think if it's a bid process, and we talked about that.
Okay.
But this particular type of service is more like, it's not like we put 8 or 10.
I know, it's
special ed
individually, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's just one student, it might be on transport, so the cost is very, very high.
Yeah, it's expensive, that's why I was like, how many students is $700,000 service? That's, if we can get that, that'd be great to have. And see if we can- that price to be paid.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay,
Okay, the others are name redacted, that's a parent reimbursement. And I put for mediation, so. When we are sued by parents, they have a lawyer and their lawyers charge fees. During the mediation, we do negotiate.
It's okay, Ms. Neely Johnson. I think you can
get
skip,
them down as low as-
yeah, I think you can skip all the
Okay.
lawyer fees and mediations.
Because they're also, if I
Yeah.
can say, they're not technically continuing, right, because that was a specific case. I mean, they might continue in a different face and a different name.
That's right.
Right.
Technically, it's a no, you know?
Yeah, I think.
And when we get to the, one-time funds, that's what I'm going to Sacramento to do some advocating. And I'm gonna be asking that, we continue to try to keep mediators, because there's a mediator that's a judge, and then we have in-house mediators. And the in-house mediators don't have law fees, right? We just do a contract with them, they're certified by the state, but they're function as a mediator, so we have to report it straight. And that's something I'm trying to continue to advocate for. Okay, the other where I have contracted services, right now, we are working really hard with HR to do recruitment, but I'll just be very frank with you. It's teacher shortage, and in terms of, we're able to get to 27. But the other shortages, where we're starting to see more shortages are for speech, language pathology and psychologists, for the first time. Wow. Some of these contracted agencies provide us specific people to meet the need, and for special ed, you cannot have a layperson provide that service. Because then we end up getting sued for conflict.
So then what line are you on?
I'm on number 40. Did I move? I'm on 46. I'm on line,
Okay.
because he said skip, so, Fagan, Friedman and Full Cross is our district attorney, and I think I said state lawyer, so that's our district, and then the others are. So now I'm on line 46, right? So Ed Theory is a, one of our contractors that provides speech teachers, because we didn't have enough. ProCare, they provided some paraprofessionals. We actually have about 6 agencies that we're using for paraprofessionals to do 1% absolutely. Gonna be interviewing 30 people this week. So our goal is to reduce that, but yes.
I'm sorry. I just have a question about the contract with the paraprofessionals, because that always comes up in the field, on the sites. Because it is a significant amount, especially when you're using 6 different agencies. And I know the district is paying for these services. Who's monitoring that those services are being?
We have to, we monitor. We actually have, we feel like we're actually a separate HR agency for that. So we have a way that we monitor who's where. We have had some concerns about one agency that we will not be continuing with, and I will find where their contract is and put a no. But let me just also say that if we do not have Paris for certain students, we're gonna get, and so that is sort of how we're kind of expansion, because we're competing with every other kind of neighboring district that's using these state agencies. But what I have learned is that some of the agencies that we have worked in, where some of the parents that want to come and work with us, California has a non-compete clause. So once I end that contract, those parents, if they want, they can apply to the district. And we do not have to pay a fee. So,
Could I also just point out, because this is a common part of the greater conversation we have at the most company is how much we spend in the consultants. All of these costs you're saying are falling in consultants, and you see they're legally required, perfectly natural. And some of them would we have people that recruit, we would replace up in the 1s, 2s, and 3s, but this is the biggest source of the 5,800, those consultant costs in the district is coming through here. So when you look at the general fund in general, it's mostly on the restricted side, but it's worth noting great effort and care is going into trying to, do the right thing for students while hiring where you can and making sure the right adults are in front of these students. So it's not like anybody's doing anything. I just don't want to perpetuate the same conversation we've had since I've been here, like real care is going into this. So I just want to kind of.
So let me clarify what I was speaking to, and I didn't want to, but I think it's necessary. What I'm speaking to, Sonia, is who's monitoring the time cards, because this is a significant amount of money. And if the district is
I
paying,
monitor the time cards and my director.
well, let me finish what I was gonna say. Because I'm in the field and I hear it and I see it. And this is the elephant in the room, so I think it needs to be addressed. We have 6 agencies and we are aware that these students need these services because the district has to be compliant. What I'm seeing is that this is always not happening with the agency staff, that they're not showing up. So my concern is if this type of money is going out to 6 agencies and they're people that they employ, they're not your employees, but they're the agency employees and they're not showing up and providing the services. That's an issue because this is a lot of money that's coming out.
Because I'm gonna tell you,
Okay.
we have been monitoring, and actually a couple people have been fired. Because we did find that they were falsifying their time card. So let me start where it starts. We do the assigning because remember, we have a level of vacancies and then we have students that need 1-to-1. That's where they mostly are. In some programs, mostly 1-to-1s. And those are the ones that are in their IP that student needs to have that right? But we don't have aides that we're able to hire fast enough, because when we do hire, we move them out and then we assign them somewhere else. We have taught a couple, I'm gonna be very transparent about that. We let the agency know, and we are also giving credit. So, but what we did put in place is that I have 2 directors and I have 2 program specialists for each elementary and secondary. So they have to sign in and sign out, and now we have principals. So they were young, but he's now signing those time sheets. So we do have that monitoring piece. And what I'll say to you is that if you know that is happening, please, let Carlita know for elementary, Guthrie know for secondary, so that we can address it.
Yeah.
So, one agency, it's happened a couple of times, and we've caught it, we're gonna get that credit back. But what we're doing now is thinking that we're not going to, continue with that. And unfortunately, they're providing like 100 parents. So we have to be very careful in terms of how we deal with that, because I also don't want to go into next year down 100.
Right, no, I understand, it's always been concerning to me when it comes to, staff cuts and budget cuts and things like that, I just think it's
Well,
necessary to make sure.
we do want to know, because I think we don't have eyes everywhere, and we can let the administrator know that they're also signing, and then for sure, you can let us. That needs to follow.
Mr. John, question?
And this isn't probably like, for Sonia specific, maybe it's more for Robert's side of the world, but, we obviously need these things, and I have questions around why we can't hire, but they can hire. And so I'm wondering if we can do some sort of analysis of how much do co-care therapy paraprofessionals make comparative? Because one of the arguments we make is that if we pay people better, right, they'll work here. And so, where the rubber meets the road, can we see how much, why they can hire and we can't hire? And I know it's a deep problem, but to start, maybe just comparing.
So you're cutting out the middleman. If they can hire them, why can't we hire them? And then that puts them over in the Teamsters, right?
They don't have benefits.
These people, the contracted people don't have benefits
No matter finding professional.
because we have benefits.
Right, but I would also say to what I think you're kind of going to, and I feel like that is, what we're trying to do with HR. We are creating, posters that we're gonna have at every school and in every one of our classrooms about how to apply to be a paraprofessional. We should, this is one of the strategies that we work with HR on, that we're going to put out. But the agencies, I can tell you, they pay a little bit more, but in the long run, the employee is not getting the long-term benefit. They're not getting benefits, health benefits, and then also, they're kind of at will.
It's like a temp agency.
Yes.
Right.
So we can talk about how we can survey on entrance or exit to see kind of, and there's probably conversations we have.
And I think one of my directors already did that research, so I can give it to Robert to give it to you. We'll give it to Robert.
Ms. Bone, did you have anything? I think that what we're hearing is a couple of things. So this is what I heard. One, we have to contract out because we don't have the people yet. Two, we're creating strategies to take those people from those contractors and to find, and to find other people because we are wanting to offer better things here. Three, when we have the narrative about, do we have a lot of contractors? The answer is yes, but we don't want to say we have a lot of contractors and throw special ed under the bus. We have to have these contractors. When the narrative is, what about the other people who we don't have to have? So when we have a conversation about cutting contractors, I'm not specifically talking about special ed. Special ed shouldn't be in that category because that's legal. Special ed is legal. I'm talking about all them other things that are optional that we can have a conversation about and start thinning that way. This conversation we're having now is a real education on how special ed works and how that these things are legally required for the most marginalized students in the district. And we are here not saying slice and dice any of that, because we know that these are things that we have to have for these students. What we are doing is getting the education about them and kind of working through strategies. How can we do better? And how can we keep the intention about making sure these kids are taken care of and honored and valued the best way possible? So I appreciate everybody's conversation about this, because this really is the learning table when we're talking about special education. Director Johnson, we're ready.
Okay,
Question online.
Oh, we got a question online. Uh-oh, sorry, you're gonna have to speak up, Ms. Persley. I'm not looking over there. Go ahead, ma'am. Oh, you on mute.
I'm on mute, yeah. So I'm hearing things about having trouble hiring aides, and I know that's really hard. The adult school used to have a program to train aides, and I wonder if we still have that. And if that would be a way to, I mean, that's for the future, but something to look at in terms of getting more people who could be aides.
so, we actually just had this conversation in director's meeting with our retreat. And what, we were talking about is really looking at our students as they're graduating from high school, right? And possibly going to college and, you know, letting them know, hey, come back and work for us. I mean, because many of our students, if they go to Contra Costa College nearby, or even some of the local four-year colleges, most people have to work, right? And so look at, you know, making that connection, that they come back and possibly work for us. We're also talking about some just recruitment where sitting at the Contra Costa campus, which is very close to our office, just setting up a table. They said, you can come, we're gonna try to coordinate that. And just, you know, having information about, you know, the different programs we have. So we need preschool parents, you know, we have our elementaries that are less hours, our secondaries are longer hours, but just seeing if that is also a way of recruitment. We also are doing, this year, monthly training with one of the contractors that provides a lot of our speech and language pathologists and our RBTs. They are doing training for us for free. And so our paraprofessionals are participating in that. We've updated, Janae, we've updated this year with the handbook. And I think that's been very helpful. And then, you know, our goal is to do a survey of our paraprofessionals this year to just also kind of see what else do we need. Because when we did that, we kind of did it specifically around SEL. We were really looking at, you know, some of the needs that we're having in the classroom, but this year we're gonna do kind of an end of the year survey to find out what are some things that they need. And also too, I will also say in terms of teachers, we haven't got to that part yet, but getting really many of our paraprofessionals to consider being special ed teachers, because that's another part, you know, and so we actually have two of our ABAs that are teaching right now. And when I went to visit them, I think they're going to teach next year. So I'm excited that they're going to get into an intro program. So it's really important for us to look at growing our own as well.
I think that's, I think what Ms. Persley said was an excellent idea too. I know that at Richmond High School, when you have your adult classes at night, it's amazing. It's full of people who are so invested in education and so invested in giving back to the community. So I think that's great. I think tapping our retirees, always good. I also think that they're graduating, their senior parents who their babies are graduating, their one and onlys are graduating, but they don't know how to transition. They still want to do school with somebody, even though their kids are going off to work or going off to college. So having those parents, I know when my last one goes off to, you know, when she's 18 and I kick her out of the house, I'm gonna need something to do. So I would love to have like, oh, go be a paraprofessional, still stay with the schools or go back to teaching. Or so there's, I think that you guys are doing great strategies as tapping people to come and work as a paraprofessional and making it non-scary. It could be scary having to come back into the school. Wait, I don't have a teaching credential. How am I able to do this? Or wait, I've only been a parent volunteer. How am I able to do this? So giving that, that guidance and navigation, I think is really good. So I love the idea of the posters. I love the idea of tapping into our high school seniors, especially when they can go and be, a para for the elementary schools. I'm complete. Anybody else? No? Okay.
Great table to have a practice.
Excellent table to have at graduation. Yes.
At all of our graduations.
Yes,
Okay, so look.
HR too.
special
yeah.
ed,
Mhm.
yes.
I'll work with HR.
It really is a good place. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's really good. That's a great suggestion, Principal De Leon.
And I do want to say too, that we meet weekly, we meet with me. HR, educated and not. We have separate meetings. So this is something we're constantly thinking about. So any other ideas that you all want to send to, let me know.
Side note, I would love for special ed to come back to the board and give us an overview update of all the great things that are going on. Like the fact that we're no longer disproportionate, like some of the wins that we have, like the fact that they had a sped prom, like the fact that we're looking for paraprofessionals. Just a side note, I would love for the special ed to come back and talk to us at the board.
Maybe, Dr. Hurst can work with Ms. Mary Johnson to add a couple of slides at the next superintendent report on the 17th.
I would
Awesome.
love that. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? This is a great conversation. Anything else? Hold on one second, Director Johnson. When's lunch, friend?
What is our lunch?
It's already. here.
Oh, it's already here? All right.
There's a few here that I'm in.
You have some that you're interested in? Okay. Do you want, so ladies and gentlemen of the committee, do we want to look through the ones and ask specific questions? Will we like Director Johnson to continue to go through them? What's the pleasure of the committee?
What are your concerns about those?
I just want to know who they are, because I mean, some of them, name redacted suggests that that is a mediation agreement. I was informed that, so Emmeline, we haven't talked about, consultant contract for FY. Lozano Smith, I was.
That's a lawyer.
Maybe a lawyer.
Yeah.
But so I'm just curious
You know
which of
that.
these are contracted services on this page, like the paras we were talking about from ProCare, and which of these are mediation agreements?
I'm looking at this, and this is not how I know them, so sometimes they're company name, so let me just.
I
let
see,
me Send this to my, person to just pull me the name, many times this could just be someone who's doing training kind of in-house. So I will double check that one, and it's more specified, Lozano Smith helped with the, charter MOU. We do have one charter that is still a part of our SELPA, which is Richmond College Prep. And there was a lot of back and forth over that MOU. Next year, it should not cost that much.
They charge us $157,000 for an MOU. I'm in the wrong kind of work.
But there was a lot of back and forth.
And then we have school psychology group.
And I will double check that one.
I see a psyche here,
That
like a
work.
trainer, or it might be like an IEE perhaps.
Yeah, some of them, so IEEs. So
Which
we
are?
need to explain what they are. So say for example, we have a student that we have, like, for example, John, does the assessment, and the student does not qualify for special ed. A parent by law has a right to ask for an IEP. We actually have a list of IEP providers that we recommend, but they don't have to use them. They can go to others. And so some of the ones that I'm not really, as familiar with, many times these are the ones that they went with and, we agreed. Try to keep the cost down So if you see something that's like 6,500, that's pretty much a psychoeducational
Yeah.
one. If you see it a little higher, then
Y'all hear that?
students may have multiple assessments, so they may be asking for a speech assessment, they may be asking for an FBA, which is the behavioral assessment, you know. And you have, sometimes those come out of UPA as well, so we agree with Taylor.
So, yeah, so I mean, just to the truth is aware, right, what Sonya's saying is IEE's independent educational evaluation, right? Parent can request one for free, it's part of the law, their rights, and so that what we do as in-house, whether it's teacher psych, right, it's roughly costing the district about $6,000. So you're welcome, district, for my service.
What
But,
what line is that?
He's 61, I think, and now that he's saying that, I think that is what.
Daniel Maloff, psych,
Okay,
the one right there, it's 5,300.
But it's line, I'm sorry. I just lost it. 61, 62. Okay.
So I did have a suggestion, when you're ready for it. And you may already do that, so.
Oh, it's for the, yeah, I think that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you may already be doing it, because I know we have a sort of assessment team, at least within the psych department, but do we have like a procedure where we first offer, instead of an IEE, like a different internal provider to provide a second assessment first?
So
I know that's more work on.
okay, so this year we have one-time money, and so we use Cornerstone to help us catch up on our overdue IEP that kind of left over from a little bit. Because, you know, we needed to be evaluating students within the educational system. And say, yes, you have time. So Cornerstone did about 120 assessments for us, yeah. But it's $400,000, but that's one-time money. So that money's gone. That will be gone as of September 30th. So we're trying to, look at, you know, who can, we also have an assessment team that, you know, although every site is assigned to, schools based on the percentage and the need, say caseload. Sometimes if it becomes too much, they can refer to the assessment team, and then our assessment team will take on additional assessments. But we do time card for those additional assessments. In addition to that, though, I would say that we have done some PWNs, but some of these have come out of the actual, not our just kind of in-house mediators, because we're able to kind of really say, hey, give us an opportunity to do another assessment. If it's been long enough, we'll have somebody else do the assessment, a different assessor. Sometimes people have asked for a bilingual assessor, which we have, and or they ask for a diagnostic center. And so we will refer to the diagnostic center, because our goal is to either do it in-house or to do it for free, right? Not for free, but you know, not pay extra. But some of these have come out of the mediated agreements as well, where that was the agreement that they get their assessment.
Got it. Yeah, no, I worked in the school district Philadelphia for 2 years, and so they created a team that was just doing sort of as a way to prevent these IEE costs. They were created a team that just did these, and so they would offer this first to see if the parent would be willing.
And we
to
do that
Awesome.
in the initial, many times, by the time a parent sees us, we have actually probably already kind of gone through this, we've done a PWN, and we say, we stand by our assessment, then they feel us, then we end up in mediation, then we end up. That's the easiest.
Yeah.
But we do make that effort. Yes.
Thank you. I don't want to say that I'm lost, but I'm a little lost. You know, hats off to you all that this said, because half the things you're saying, and I'm pretty knowledgeable individual. I don't know what you're talking about. So I recommend, why don't we take a quick lunch?
Yeah.
Clerks and folds.
Yeah.
I want to regroup, and maybe we can talk about how to move forward. We still have like
Yes.
a long way to go for sped. So
Yeah.
maybe we can regroup so that we can see what contracts not to touch.
Yeah, the question first, what's touchable, what can be deducted that goes back into the general?
Yeah, that's a
If there
good
is
question.
And I think from Director Johnson's face, if y'all can't see it, it was we can't touch nothing in sped. Is that what, is that the thing?
Like that. What I said is that there's certain things that, I mean, I think we have always tried to just truncate, reduce as much as possible.
Right.
Cohort having students, we try to reduce in terms of the transportation cost, where we're trying to encourage many of our students to stay in their leader pattern, right? Things of that nature, so that we don't have to add an additional bus route, which could cost about $100,000. So we've done those kind of internal things that we tried to do, Robert's kind of smiling, to keep costs down. Yes, these are things that, like, oh, I'll tell you, line 96, for example, when I first came in. Ideologists. You can't afford it. So we contract for $60,000 because ideologists cost about 150 to 200,000. So things that we have to contract with, we can say, yes, we're gonna contract. And then some of these, like I said, are just the actual, here's the unique communication assessment.
What line?
I think that's 100, that's like 33,000.
Okay, I'm so sorry, Director Neely Johnson.
Okay.
Why don't we break here because, and yes, that'd be great, because if maybe during lunch, the both of you could possibly reduce this list to the areas that are absolutely like, this is gonna continue under required, right? And these are the ones that are not specifically required that we can speak about, that you can decide whether or not to cut it, but let us tell you why we think it should stay, right? And then the areas of like, these are one-time money, or this happened once and it might not happen again, for example, lawsuits, right? So if that's possible, that way, less for you to present, less for us to try to designate the.
I can tell you that right now. Contract tracers can be cut.
Good job. Great.
Do we get that money back?
I don't even know where it is.
What line?
What line is
What
that,
line is that?
Director
What
Johnson?
tab?
That is tab, 626 to 659. Now, I'm gonna ask Robert to help me. I'm assuming that the first one,
So $1.1 million,
yes, but.
So let's,
$1.15 million.
1.15 million we get back? Oh,
Oh,
you told me that. Listen,
okay.
you can't sit next to me no more.
There's two of them, Deb. There's two of them. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, let's, Director Johnson, let's do this. Because, my diabetes, my sugar level dropping. Let's get something to eat and then you guys work and you don't get to report out. You got me all excited about 1.5. How long is our lunch, everyone?
500,000 is good too.
30 minutes lunch? Let's do a 30-minute lunch. And then Dr. Hurst, throw up the little TikTok-y thing that we'll be back at 12:33. Okay, 30-minute lunch. How do I cut this little owl off?
And then Ms. Moses and Director, you Okay, everybody, we're coming back. Ms. Percy, can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Okay, hope everybody had a good lunch. We are coming back to our wonderful SPED department. So Director Neely Johnson, Ms. Moses, Coordinator Moses, I'm sorry. I'm also getting used to it. I'll pass it back to you. How would you like us to proceed?
Yes.
So I think the question before we left for lunch is that is there something that we can possibly cut? And then I said, the one thing I know for sure that we can cut, is the contact trace.
And then,
So next speaker.
Oh, the contact tracing, which is in tab.
So that's the 500,000 on, 626,659,6504.
Yes, so the 504, I'll just you read, is that it supports our students that may have a 504, but many times they also have a medical condition. So that's, they may have an LPN or support, so that's why they. Really young children with diabetes that haven't regulated, you know, to monitor their insulin better. So that's what those costs are. The second line is contract tracing, and that can be cut, and that is what was there.
Oh, the first one, you don't recommend cutting, but the second one, we can't cut. Okay, because of the, okay, got it.
And then the second one is contract tracing, and just, I'm assuming the way that what CDBH is saying is that we will no longer need to contract trace after maybe 2 weeks from now. I'm not sure, Dr. Hurd, you know.
After executive find out.
Okay.
But that money goes back into special, that money comes to us. How much is that?
500,000.
Great. All right.
So we just have 500,000.
That's good.
That's very good. Okay, so let's,
Unrestricted general fund.
Okay, general fund.
which comes to us, which means we can pay down our debt, right? Okay. Any other questions?
It's contact tracing. We don't need it.
Okay, Director Johnson, go ahead.
I just was gonna say that, if you look at the central, central dispute prevention, that was funds that are expiring in September. And, how it was used is for an alternative dispute resolution. And so, districts across the state hired mediators to help them avoid a lot of litigation. And so it's been very helpful to us to have increased the number of litigated cases that could go to a law judge that would generate lawyer fees and of course the settlement. So we've been able to kind of resolve a lot of these in-house. And so when I was talking to John about, you know, an assessment, we say, hey, could we have another site in the assessment or our assessment team or diagnosis and things of that nature. So I'm gonna be advocating tomorrow at the state level to really say we need funding to keep mediators because it really has helped us as SELPA directors come to resolution with our families.
And Director Johnson, tell me where you are. What line are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wait. Do you have what I have? I'm sorry.
Yeah, tap on, yeah,
The 622 central med account, is that the one you were on?
No, 622 central prevention.
That's the,
Oh, that's where you at,
Gave
okay.
us Money and we had to write a plan. And so this is what we put in the plan was that we were going to train, so a couple of things we did with this. We hired the mediators. We trained 12 of our parents, resource parents, that's what we trained them on. We also took people to the ADR, staff and parents to the dispute resolution conference this year. So, and then of course we bought materials for our preschool classes, because we have a lot of youth. We actually, by December, we had like 60 kids on the waiting list for preschool.
so you're saying that we can cut all this?
Open up class.
We can cut all this? Is that what I'm hearing you say? We can cut all this?
It's gone.
It's gone already.
It was one-time funding.
It's one-time
Okay.
funding.
So that it-
Okay, the other one that's one-time funding is the 622 Central Learning Recovery. And we wrote a plan for that. You had to write plans for these. And so what we try to do to save money moving forward is that any mediated agreement where we provided comp ed, and if you look at 1 through 4, we were able to pay that mediated agreement reimbursement for the parent for 35,000 out of that learning recovery, because we owe the comp ed as a result of, right, of result of the pandemic. So that money is also in the for 30, right?
So when we verify.
Right, but we also tried to purchase multi-year licenses so that we could save next year, next year, I could say 23, so 23, 24. We tried to purchase multi-year license, so we don't have to purchase. So that's how we're looking at it. So you see a lot of supplemental, anything we can do multi-year, 2 to 3 years, we were able to purchase out of that. And then getting a lot of our assessments done.
Any questions?
So that whole page is not continuous, right?
Well,
I think I could just add big picture in terms of what we're looking at, which is the really fun real quick. When I look at our overall state budget, about 10, a little over 10 million came from the general. And 9 million of that is all transportation. 1.15 million is to nursing for 504 and for contact training. So in the, everything else is tied to plans, tied to services, and from categorical funds. I can't really speak to if any additional money had to be contributed. But that 500,000 for contact tracing, we will not continue to need. And from the standpoint of transportation, I think that's Robert's wheelhouse. But when you look at all of the line items of the budget, they're all meeting the needs of IEP, student services, student materials, with the exception of those 4 line items that are general.
Director Moses, can I ask you a question? This might be a dumb question, so. Are there areas of the sped budget outside of what we get from the general fund, the 10 million, that could pay for certain specializations of sped teachers? So that we don't have to pay out of the general fund, but could pay out of the sped department budget? Is that at all possible?
That's a question for Robert.
So I would say, what we run into is the rule is, if it's in an IEP, you have to provide it. If there's more than one way to peel the onion, you can choose the cheaper way. And so when you look at, for example, carryover balances within specific special ed funding streams that are not, contribution essentially. The team does a really good job of spending those most restricted dollars first, not just allowing them to drop out and carry over to pump up that fund balance for a future year. So they're really focusing on getting those most restricted dollars first and kind of working backward into what it ends up being the contribution from the unrestricted general fund. That is not always the case. Now, does that mean that we couldn't look at some different ratios programmatically, that we couldn't review bus routes and do other things that would help save some money? Absolutely, there are places we can do it. It's probably the only reason we're not as on top of it as we might like to be, and I'm speaking out of turn, just from my broader experience in the industry, is that the team is short-staffed and where are they going to put on that task? Because you look at all the openings they have in their department, there's just not people to take up that extra work. I would definitely say as an organization, they're our biggest department. They're spending 20% of our budget. There's a director, they have a couple directors, a couple coordinators. It's really lean when you look at it as our organization. And so, there's probably worth bringing in some people to go through pieces to do the analysis externally and objectively with input from the team and then talking through where we can make some changes. But there's no one place that I can point to. We've looked, I've had them send me their student counts for the service populations with their student demographics. And nothing jumps off the page. And I've done 25 special ed studies in other school services. So, you know, if I felt like it was the big, you know, like red flaring thing, then I would have been kind of shouting from the mountaintop. I think it's something we should do, but it's not.
And I will say too, that one of the things that has impacted the general fund is the, you know, the need for contracting, right? And so, really working strategically to get those 27 international teachers, not just for 3 years, but for 6 years, will be a cost saving. Because now they will be with us, those are positions that we don't have again. And so, and it's our goal to start the year, you know, with a teacher in every classroom. Or program, I should say, yeah.
And I'll just end with, it might be useful to check funding sources for staff members. Just in the way that you're checking contacts, because while base employees have to come from the general fund because you need them, right? But if you have additional staffing, like we have some, my position is quote unquote, well, not really funded, but there are different, there are different positions that are funded with soft money. And I don't know how that impacts the deficit, but I know that the number of, it is a significant number, so it might be worth looking at just in terms of the deficit. And because you probably could be creative, like what Robert's been trying to do and will continue to do.
So check funding sources for staffing. Is that what I heard you say?
Well,
Yeah.
it might be worth looking at.
Looking at,
right? If
okay,
there were any other divisions of the shoulder, which is exactly what Robert was saying.
okay.
Just to see what money is continuing grant funds that you might be able to tap into. And you might find some wiggle.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
June 30th of this year. So,
June 30th.
for resources, 537 for that resource, the funds in 6537 that we're talking about. So it was one-time funding. We have to spend the money.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So for example, if you have positions in that funding, you can't fund them on.
Correct.
Which is,
You said you didn't know if it was December or September. So.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, most of the ones you see, they have like. Is what we said for our mental health services, we get funded and that's restricted, so we have to provide that program, and so we have. Our people don't know about Catalyst, right? So we work with the county, but we run that program, so our mental health director supervises that program, he supervises the clinician, which is why you have to have someone who is clinical in their background for that. But that program kind of pays for itself based on the funding that we get. And then we also have some contracts with like Seneca, Redfinch, and some other programs that we place.
But just to get everybody on the same page, you're on line 2 too. Mental health
I
services.
just kind of going over, so and I guess what I can go back and say is that, let me just say this one, because this was one that came up too with the Medi-Cal. So our related service providers, we bill for services. So for example, if John, as a psychologist, was providing counseling, we could bill for Medi-Cal for that service. Those funds that get generated come back, but part of the rules for Medi-Cal is that you have a Medi-Cal collaborative. So we have a Medi-Cal collaborative, we meet every 2 to 3 months, and then those leads kind of determine how that money that's coming back to us is spent. They do let me have some say, so like, for example, our school liaison comes from that, out of that money, we just moved our transition assistant. to that fund source because of the amount generated. But it's only as good as the billing, right? We found out our doctor, and I did not know this, the doctor had been here way before Sonia got here, died in October. And so he was not doing what he did anyway, because he was dead. I shouldn't, this is not, that's not, but I didn't know it that way. So I was able to find a local doctor who is a graduate of our district, who is now doing the, our doctor has to sign off on the prescription.
Yes.
And so we have a company called SPR. They charge a nominal fee. I'm saying a nominal fee. They have a whole system platform that our people go into. They have, you know, the treatments, and then our doctor has to look at each one of those. And so he charges, and actually it's cheaper because doctors do charge more. Like every 20 treatments, it's like $800, which is actually pretty good deal because you have to make sure that things are compliant and his life. Let's also say that. So, but that's the funds that are generated there. We have tried to use for psychologist training, because they also have to continue to get training to keep themselves updated. And so we try to offset those costs as well through that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Other than where are we? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have, I do have a couple of specific questions, but what I'm hearing you both say is that out of the $35 million for sped, 500, potentially we could save 500,000 out of the full 35 million. You know, it's getting us closer, not as close as I hope, but any other areas, potential savings that you could see within your budget? Like I feel so
Trying to
unknowledgeable,
get
but
those parents hired to the district.
And also trying to reduce the number of cases.
Yes.
You know, and they're actively doing that, and that's you can't predict how many parents are gonna wanna go in mediation next year. Right, we hope that number decreases, which means that the impact of the budget will decrease. We hope that our parents will discontinue asking for other comprehensive and non-public schools. But if they ask for it, well, is there a type of we have to use space for it in the budget. So I think that the question is, moving forward with the special education services, we can't predict.
It's very good.
It's difficult to predict. But Sonia and everybody on the team is continuing to work toward making those things better, which is making an impact, but we will not.
Yeah, and I would also say, so, and also I'm gonna take it a little also step further, it's relationships. Our families have to trust that we're going to do this. And so that's why it's very important for us to get resource parents, because these are parents who don't work for us, but they're like our ambassadors. And so when things come up, we have the resource parents talk to their families, especially, we're really also trying to target all new families, because it's very overwhelming. I'm a parent of a child with special needs, and I remember that he started as an infant. You know, I've learned so much, and that's why I said I trust our programs. But I trust our programs because I continue to build relationships, and I think it also helps working inside the district, because you also have a lens from how districts work. But parents don't have that lens. They're like, this is my child, this is what I need for them, I really don't care about anything else, and you can't take it personal. They want to be advocates for their children, but they also get overwhelmed. And every time they have to come to one of our meetings, an annual IEP meeting, they're also going back through that grief process. And that's why I'm always reminding our case managers, our sites, to also help us to remind that. And one of the things that I know John has seen this too, we really have tried to not top over our parents' heads. First of all, we ask them, what are your concerns? That's how we start meetings, but we're also trying to break things down so they really understand the services and the offerings that we're providing for their child. So I think if we continue to do that, we will see some of the.
Costs go down.
Like, once someone talks to you, they're like, oh, okay, I think I can trust this person. And we've had in CAC, trustees have told them, come to our CAC meeting, where families have said, I feel better now. I know who to talk to.
A lot of that is parental confidence. As a parent of a child who has an IEP, it's parental confidence. Being a teacher and having relationships with other teachers is amazing because that gives you more navigation skills. But when you're in that IEP, I get, as a parent, even as a teacher, I get so overwhelmed because it's all of these people telling me about my child, right? But having it done well, and my child has had excellent IEP teams at Hercules. And the level of anxiety that goes down when I'm sitting in that room because of the relationships and the trust factor allows me as a parent to feel confident to ask those questions. It allows my child to feel confident to say, wait a minute, Mom, I don't want this. This didn't work, but this did. Or I just need a brain break put in here, or whatever it is. So the things that I appreciate that I'm hearing you say is strategies. Strategies for parents, strategies for teachers when they're in that IEP meeting, strategies for, because you have general ed teachers in that IEP meeting, right? And you also have your case manager and you have your psychologist. And this is what I'm talking about. When you can get, and you guys may not be able to see it on screen, but Director Johnson is holding up something called Leadership, Safe and Inclusive Schools. It's creating a space where parents and students and teachers, all teachers, general ed and special eds, feel safe and confident to provide services for that student. I think if you continue doing that and creating those safe spaces, especially in our IEP meetings, then you're going to see litigation costs go down, because then I can call you before I call a lawyer. Because a lawyer is going to want to sue. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's how they get paid. So they're going to want to sue. But if I have an in-between person, like a CAC parent, like a relationship with my administrator, like a relationship with my case manager, like a relationship with my child psychologist on campus, my speech therapist on campus, it all gives me a chance to take the temperature down. Yes, this is a problem, but we can handle it because we have headphones for them. We have this for them. Let's try these things first. And then we're advocating together, not you're advocating just for your child, but we're advocating as a team. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that part of the strategy. President Gonzalez-Hoy, where are we?
Okay, I have two more questions and due to time, because we have to go back to that services. If you guys could just tell me what they are real quick, is the Stepping Stones group, what do they do?
Stepping Stones, Stepping Stones, actually, when I first started, we only used 2 contracted agencies mainly for staffing. For Stepping Stones, because they provide teachers and paraprofessionals, and then also SPG, because they provide specifically speech pathologists. We're gonna also need them to now do a couple of psychologists if we're not able to hire where we need to be. So they provide teachers, credentialed teachers, and when we say credentialed, mild, moderate, mild, severe. And that's where the shortage is. There's a big shortage of mild, severe right now. I'm actually, hoping that people will continue to try to do both. Just instead of just mild or mild severe, that they just do mild and mild severe, so that as you have a need, they're able to, move these curves. So that could be also another strategy. But Stepping Stones does provide teachers. I think this last year they provided 5. One teacher we had worked with them for 3 years, and now they're at Cedar High School. They're our full inclusion teacher.
Okay.
Teacher is excellent, and that teacher has probably saved us a couple of $100,000 a year, because parents are so happy with that teacher in the full inclusion program that they're not requesting the non-public school.
Gotcha.
So
Thank you. That's really helpful. Therapy Staff LLC. Therapy Staff LLC.
You know, I have so many too, so I have to see.
Yeah,
And
no,
some are non-public agencies and some are non-public schools.
this is 2.4 million. It's item 202322134. It's in the 800s, 857.
I'm sorry, tell me which one is it under?
It's in the 857s. It's total of 2.4 million.
It's probably.
The vendor's therapy staff.
Which tab is it?
I have no idea. I'm looking at the paper.
Oh, he has to pay for that.
Okay, so.
Just leave it down here. I don't come jump to
I
them.
know, it's not very useful. They're all in the 857.
I think that is one of our contractors as well. So, most times we're getting paraprofessionals from them. We have about, like I said, 6 pro care therapy. They're providing LGN, but they also have provided some paraprofessionals.
There it is.
Oh, here it is right here.
What tab is that? Therapy staff is NPA 2.4. On your all tab is line 3.
Solution is on for that service.
Oh, there it is. Wait, no, which one? Therapy?
Therapy staff.
Line 359.
I'm looking for on which tab it's on. It's on 622 Central 6500.
Oh, signature.
Is it ProCare?
I'm sorry.
ProCare, is that the name of the agency?
No, he's asking about therapy staff.
I think that those are here.
It's on line 136.
Those are some of, that's another paraprofessional. That's one of them that we just contracted with. Yeah, I'm trying to do the one that I may cut. Okay, so I will be cutting one agency that gives us about 100.
Is it therapy stuff?
But I will be cutting them because of something that came up in terms of just concern I've had.
Am I correct that you don't want to state the name of the company yet because they haven't been notified?
Exactly.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Director Neely Johnson. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So they contract out some of the paraprofessionals.
No, I know. I don't know what she's.
Oh, she's not gonna, she doesn't want to hire one of those paraprofessional companies back, but she
Which
can't
one?
tell us the name
Oh.
because they're still under contract and she doesn't want to let it out yet. Or
Oh.
we will be informing them first and then she'll be able to bring that to us.
But is that a savings in this process? Or is that something that to get replaced?
It'll probably be
It
sent
has
with a different company.
Yeah, so on average, I think it's good for context, on average, we're needing about 250 paraprofessionals.
What did Kim Mosley say?
I'd like to reduce that, but once again, I think it's going back to.
What did Ms. Moses just say?
I am, actually, we have a second document that is the NPAs and the NPSs, for 22-23, and that group doesn't appear on that document, so,
You started using them mid-year this year, so they weren't on what went to the board at the beginning of the year. They were sent in the mid-year for.
that is.
All of these are minimum. The only non-public school we're not using is Raskog because it's closing.
Those are things we can't get rid of either.
That student has to go to another school.
Okay, any more specific questions?
Yes, and I question about therapy.
No, did we get an answer about therapy staff?
Yes. Oh, it was paraprofessionals.
Therapy staff is paraprofessionals. Okay, that's just the name of their company. Okay,
And the one right above, Maxim Healthcare Services.
So that provides so we have in our district 15 LVNs,
Right.
right? But then Maxim backfills. And what I mean is that, say a student needs a one-to-one for whatever medical. condition
They provide that.
I can kind of name a lot of ones that, they may need, and
Yeah.
they're with them all the time. Kids that have multiple seizures, they're not regulated, they may be malnutrition, so they backfill for us. But they also provided a contract tracing,
Oh, I see.
right? So remember that 500,000 was the contract tracing, and that was for the whole system.
Got it.
Just to be clear, our district nurses, which are part of my unit, they're not the ones who are providing the direct services to students. It's the licensed vocational nurses, the LVNs. And I think the ones that are in-house are in Shawnee's, are they teachers?
No, they're in SSA.
SSA.
They're in Mary.
So,
But we are now fully staffed because we were down to 10 and we're now up to 15. We just had someone come back.
I just wanted to say that for the group, because a lot of people assume it's our district nurses, and there's like 7 of them. They
Yeah.
do so a nurse will come in, a student who has diabetes, maybe they have an
Right,
ADD, they have type 4, they'll train the LVN to implement the plan, but the LVN is the one who then actually sits with the student all day, monitors, their glucose until they can be independent. And their plan identifies that they can.
Right, and bringing those LVNs in as actual employees have reduced that cost.
and you said it before, but just so I can write it down. LVN, licensed vocational nurse.
So the nurse is a registered
All right.
nurse, and they have a nursing degree, plus they also have in school for nursing, and the LVNs work under their license. So if we didn't have, say we didn't have nurses, we would have to contract someone to supervise, in a sense, our LVNs. But because we do have in-house nurses, those LVNs work under their license, so they can then.
So for lack of better term, just for my head, the LVN is like a student teacher. I'll go with it. Got it. I got it. You have to have a nurse, an RN, and then the LVN works under the RN because the RN trained the LVN. So the LVN is the one
The
that says
state requires that they
work under their license, and the LVN is the one in school all day that's monitoring our students. And if there's something that happens on campus, that's that LVN that's gonna take care of that medical emergency or something that happens. Yeah, that's student teacher, that kind of work.
And our kind of, yeah, and.
I'm like,
Our LVNs have to be itinerant.
Uh-huh.
So we may have children that have to have a specific procedure at a certain time.
Right,
And so they have to go and do that procedure because a paraprofessional can't.
can't do that. For example, changing a colostomy bag.
Trying to do something they can't because they're actually medical and you have to have a license.
So would it be like a
Yes.
colostomy bag? Okay, all right.
And you can put the district nurses as the case manager.
Oh.
and the LVN service provider.
Listen, that's a better way of saying it. I got it. That's better, huh? Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Any other specific questions that we have for the contracts in front of us? No?
I had a comment, but at the end.
Did you want to talk about procare therapy, because it's on the board for tomorrow night, so just to clear any questions so they don't.
Right, well, procare therapy, I think what happened is that we just had we had to hire someone because this is the piece, because we have shortages. We are getting, we have to provide the services and we're trying not to fall so behind that we can't make up the services. Because if we owe services, parents can then bring litigation, sue us to owe those services for a longer period of time. So we're always trying to make sure we fulfill the need.
As soon as possible.
Service. And so ProCare is also providing, they provided, in the past, I'll say a social worker. So I think one of the social workers works under the director. But then the rest are paraprofessionals.
Thank you for that. Any other question? Okay, let's go to comments.
I just wanted to share earlier, I really appreciate the positivity of the conversation we were having regarding sort of like marriage and relationship building, but we were talking about predicting what may happen, and I do want to push this a little bit, which is we do have some predictions, and it is actually not the district, but in general, litigation has skyrocketed, unfortunately. Requests for IEEs has skyrocketed. We are historically, at least in the schools I work at Title I schools because I speak Spanish, I'm bilingual. We typically haven't had these experiences. I can share with you all that at my school last year, there was a lawsuit that we had to mediate and a request for an IEE. So I do want to just kind of reframe, I love the conversation, and we should be aware that these costs are in fact going to be going up based on the trends in the state of California, in the district. I don't know the district specifically, I'm assuming it's the same. So I think everything we said was true, and we should just be aware that this is, you know, these redacted names, we are likely to see more of them.
Yeah.
And if I could just comment on that as well, that's what feeds into the contracts. Because if you have a service in the IEP and you're not providing that service, you're most likely gonna end up in that
In litigation.
which is going to cost you more. So it looks like it's fitting a lot on outside agencies, but if we don't bring those outside agencies in to address the need, we end up in litigation.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you so much, Director Johnson. Thank you so much, Director Moses.
Do they get a donut?
You do. You guys have saved us, let's see.
I don't know, out of 35 million, maybe they get a quarter of it.
So you saved us 500,000? 500,000. Okay, 500,000. So, please get yourself a donut. Be welcome, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We would appreciate any feedback that you have to bring to the rest of the meeting. So let's just take a minute to realign ourselves. President Gonzalez-Hoy, what are we bringing back?
Ed services.
Are we gonna bring it back to the next meeting, or are we gonna talk about ed services now? What's the pleasure?
Well, we have 45 minutes left. I'm personally leaving in 15. So I think.
So, and Ms. Long has to leave also.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, we do have another committee, thankfully, so the county is letting us slow down. We have more time, so maybe my recommendation is that we push it to the next meeting. I
Okay.
do think that today was very eye-opening. I'm
Yeah.
actually very concerned because this was honestly the biggest piece of what we could cut, and we cut very, very, very little. So, and we don't have much left in ed services, y'all. So I think that we have to look at that with a finer point. Because the other departments don't have that much
For us to cut.
in their departments, honestly. It's not like we're gonna see another $35 million department coming to us, so I'm really concerned. Because we're not even at $1 million. So maybe we need to come together again, leadership team, to figure out how to move forward. But my suggestion, all that to say, my suggestion is that maybe we wait on the rest. To make sure that everybody's here. For the rest of the ed services piece.
So I agree. Does everyone agree that we come back? Okay. Our next meeting is May 9th at Pinole Valley High School from 5 to 8. At that next meeting, we will be bringing back ed services. And what's the other?
Yes. Can we ask, who would you like to be president from ed services?
Probably Ms. Johnson and Director Chilcott.
Yeah.
Ms. Johnson.
Oh,
Sorry.
Ms.
Yes,
Huffman,
okay.
Ms. Huffman,
I'm
Ms.
including Ms. Neely Johnson already on.
Huffman, and Chilcott.
Chilcott, yeah.
Okay, so we need,
What, if you tell me the pages and tabs, I can check with Ms. Huffman, and then she could tell me what directors need to come from her department.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
where are we picking up on?
curriculum
Page
inspection STEM,
63.
Yeah.
63,
library
Okay.
services, curriculum inspection STEM and literacy.
So page 63 on.
Yeah.
63 onward.
Okay.
Preschool.
So let's
yeah.
Catch that and we'll check in with Ms. Huckman.
And then we'll have 63 onward to do.
And then I think. that if we could
She's
have-
listening right now. She just wrote in the
Okay,
chat. that
And
She
if
got it.
we, if we could have Dr. McIntyre give us a quick budget presentation at the beginning.
yes.
I think that'll be really important.
Dr. McIntyre to do a budget presentation first.
And I think that's.
Anything else? Okay,
Our total dollar amount is $741,831.81.
that we've saved.
741,831.81.
That we've saved overall.
Yes.
Okay, so
That we voted on. There is a few other little ones that we haven't.
haven't voted on. Okay, so just an update. Ms. Kitchen has told us overall, the contracts that we voted on, the amount that we voted on to save is $741,831.81. We are trying to get to 19.1,
9.5.
9.5?
19.5.
$19.5 million, okay? We are doing the work, and that's a bonus. We are learning, and that's always foundational. We are being transparent and honest, but we have a long way to go. So we are going to have harder conversations. We're gonna have to make deeper cuts. And we can do it. Or we can get real close to it. We can do our best. So thank you, everyone. We are giving you back. I don't know. It's almost 2:00. We're giving you back 40 minutes, maybe. Thank you for everything. We will see you again on May 9th, 2023 at Pinole Valley High School from 5 to 8 o'clock. It's also going to be on Zoom. Please, go out and have a great rest of your day. Anybody else? No, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Bye.